quickly into space. Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter. Second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key. Cut! Broken ankles! See ya!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida, 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Well, here we are. It's a Tuesday. It's another week where the holidays in the middle of the week that kind of changes up the schedule, but we are here today full throttle, and we have a really good guest lineup today. We'll get to that in a moment, but guess who is back? The Dragon.
Thanks. I don't really feel like I needed all that buildup. It was a couple of days for Christmas, but I appreciate the big lead in there, and I just wonder where my pyro is. Where are the fireworks going off in the background for my massive return here? No, it's good to be back, and hope everybody had a great Christmas break. And I know we're about to break for New Year's once again, but good to talk a little college football in between the two big holidays and talk to everybody out there on YouTube and everywhere else that they listen and watch us.
Well, it's good to have you back. Hope you enjoyed your break, and about time you got your ass back here in the studio. Happy holidays. And, of course, like you said, it's kind of weird because the Wednesday, Thursdays, the last couple of weeks have been weird with Christmas on a Thursday, New Year's Day on a Thursday. There's a lot to get to, and including we're just around the corner. 3 games today, but the college football quarterfinal round will be on tap tomorrow. Here we have the Cotton Bowl tomorrow night, Ohio State and Miami. They meet in the first of the 4 quarterfinal round games, and Ohio State still in that 9.5 to 10-point favorite mode against Miami, coming off the win against Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this quarterfinal round. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's going to be some great games, and certainly more interesting across the board than the first round was. I didn't have as big of a bitch as a lot of people seem to with the first round. I did have some things that I felt like could have been better, or some adjustments that you make moving forward, or some teams that you'd rather would have seen. But I also understood the pathway for a G5, and I know that conversation continues, is never ending. I know what it feels like we're barreling towards right now, and there's nothing I'm going to say or do that's going to stop any of that. But I'm somebody that believes that G5, G6, whatever you want to refer to it as, deserves a playoff spot so long as they earn it. And I feel like the way things worked out this year, due to silly tiebreakers and just unforeseen events, it became a bit of a mess there in the first round, and it led to a lot of messy conversations. But while I have unplugged the last few days just to kind of reset my brain a little bit when it comes to college football, I'm very excited about this next round. There's still blowout potential. I mean, it's not out of the question, but I think these are going to be some great games across the board. And Ohio State, Miami getting us started later on tomorrow will be a lot of fun. I know the Buckeyes are pretty big favorites right now, but I think Miami can make it interesting.
9.5-point picks. It's been 10. It's going to be in that back and forth over the next 24 hours, and that's the first of the 4 quarterfinal round games. Remember, there was a stretch during the Super Bowl, I think in the 80s into the 90s, when the NFC hammered the AFC with blowouts, and you just like, it's so much on the line, a little bit of a break, a muff punt or something that goes wrong, a turnover, and next thing you know, you just melt And so who knows if that's going to happen with any of these four. Then Thursday morning, bright and early, you have Texas Tech and the Big 12 champions, Joey McGuire and company, against the Oregon Ducks and Dan Lanning.
I saw that Joey was filming his podcast with a really nice ocean view behind him, whatever hotel they are staying at. And you can check that out, I'm sure, in the next, probably today I would think that drops because it's going to be a little bit outdated by tomorrow. But I saw that picture just scrolling through Twitter earlier, and they appear to be having a lot of fun down in Miami right now, Red Raider Nation. And I think I'm picking them to have a lot of fun tomorrow as well. I think Texas Tech's got a great chance to win this football game. They are underdogs slightly. Last I looked, Oregon favored by a couple points, maybe even 3. But I think this is the game I'm most excited about of any of them. And I don't like, as you know, and I've pointed this out quite a few times, and I know maybe a lot of our audience doesn't want to hear it, but I don't love all of the conference tribalism. I didn't like it when it was the SEC doing it all the time, and we made fun of them for that. But I know why we are at a point where that is so out there at the forefront of all of the conversations because of TV contracts and because of this imaginary cliff we feel like we might be driving off of for some schools. And I think when it comes to that, there is some merit to it. I just don't like it being the conversation all the time, if that makes sense. But I do think that it is a valid conversation at times. And I think when it comes to tomorrow and Texas Tech, Thursday, it is vitally important for them to win this game for the Big 12. I don't think it's like if they don't, then the Big 12 crumbles in 3 years. But I do think that if you want to go and have those offseason conversations the next few months about where you place and where you stack up and your top teams versus other leagues' top teams and your worth and all that, I think it's vitally important that Texas Tech wins this game and kind of stamps this playoff with a Big 12 win. TCU's the last to do it. And then, unfortunately for them, the only thing we remember from that win was what happened afterwards with that massive loss to Georgia. But this is a great opportunity for Tech. And, at the same time, Oregon, a school who I think is proudly representing the Big Ten right now, there's a chance to have 3 out of the Final 4 from the same league, and it's not the SEC. And quite frankly, that's the expectation because all 3 of the Big Ten teams are favored. And then the SEC is guaranteed, obviously, with Ole Miss and Georgia. But I like Tech's chances in this one. And I think when it comes to Oregon, they have the conference affiliation now. They've had the money. They've had a lot of wins. What they don't have is a natty. And that is the big thing missing from them. But they've got a team that I think is equipped to make some noise and potentially get there. This game's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it.
That's early. And then, of course, after that, you go to the Rose Bowl. And, of course, the history and tradition. And that's Alabama and Indiana. The Hoosiers, who have been an incredible story really for the last couple of years in the quarterfinals and playing the Crimson Tide, who just won their opening game with the comeback against Oklahoma.
Seems like forever ago we were trying to figure out if Kalen DeBoer would be fired after losing to Florida State in the opening round. And last I was with y'all, we were talking about them beating Oklahoma in one of the most fun games we've seen this season. And I think Alabama has really a lot of things to like about them, but there's a lot more that I like about Indiana. I'm picking Indiana in this game. I know we're going to do picks later, so I should probably save all that. I don't think
that would help.
There's going to be huge surprises or anything, but I think this is an excellent game where the Hoosiers are coming in hot, although I haven't seen them in a while. So is there any effect to that? I would think not. Kurt Cignetti is such a great coach. I think he's going to have the Hoosiers ready for it, but to just simply see Indiana in this position against an Alabama and to be favored and to confidently be most people's pick in this game, it's just, again, it's a testament to the job that's been done there by Cignetti and staff, and give them a lot of credit, and we'll see if the storybook continues on and they can make even more noise. I mean, they're in a big league, so it's not like they're playing from the American or something like that. They're not that big of an underdog type of a team, but they're certainly not the ones that you typically pick to be involved. You're picking Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State. Indiana's never supposed to be a part of the equation, but they very much are. Yeah,
it's fun. There's a couple of teams. You could even say Ole Miss with what they've done. We'll get to that game in a second. As we continue through the 4 quarterfinal round games. So the game tomorrow night, Ohio State in Arlington in the Cotton Bowl against Miami. Then you have the Tech against Oregon, followed by Indiana, Alabama, and then Ole Miss. Interesting story is, again, the former coaches at Ole Miss who are going to LSU are still coaching Ole Miss. Pete Golding's done a great job. So did the others who came back to be a part of the prep work, and they take on Georgia in a game in which earlier this year, Ole Miss had everything going their way, and then Georgia scored 17 straight to close the game out to win that earlier game in the SEC.
Well, another rematch for Ole Miss. What a fun playoff schedule for them, right? I mean, you get Tulane for the second time. Now you get Georgia for the second time. So kind of weird how that worked out. Don't know that I love that, but it is what it is. And this ought to be a fun game, although I think it's the one I'm least interested in of the four. I think it's the one I'm least interested in, but don't mistake that for not being interested at all. I'm still interested in it. It's just that if I had to rank these games, this is the one I'm probably least interested in, but I'll be dialed in all day long tomorrow. I wish Tech and Oregon, if I could be selfish, was like the nightcap game, just because I love that main event stage. But Ole Miss and Georgia will be fiery there in New Orleans. You know, it'll be a jam-packed Superdome, and I love the atmosphere surrounding that game when we've been there a couple of times. So I know that's going to be, and I know right now it's a party on Bourbon and the French Quarter and everywhere else. So it's going to be scenes out in NOLA at minimum, and hopefully it's a great game attached to it as well.
So those are the four games, and of course then you move into the semifinals. So we'll tomorrow, that first one at night, but there's still three games, in fact, that are going on today. One that's underway right now in college football is there are bowl games to continue to look at, and including TCU later on tonight. Coastal Carolina up 14-6 on La Tech. That game is in the third quarter and early at the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Then Tennessee, Illinois mid-afternoon, followed by tonight's game, the Alamo Bowl, which is always a hell of a game in San Antonio. BYU hammered Colorado there last year. USC 16th in the country against Sonny Dykes and the Frogs at TCU.
Yeah, that Coastal La Tech game right now, you mentioned the score there. Pretty competitive. Just started the second half, one-score game. Chanticleer's up by 8, so we'll see how that plays out over the course of the next hour plus or so. But nice competitive start to the day in the Independence Bowl. And then I'm looking forward to Tennessee and Illinois. There's not a lot of stakes here, obviously, but just a couple of teams who are pretty solid that are going to be on at minimum in my background, but I'll catch some of that certainly as we go along with the show today. We'll be able to watch basically most of the first half while we're here broadcasting the second half of this show. So that's out the Music City Bowl. Tennessee field goal favorites in that one. And then the one I'm really looking forward to, is USC TCU, although with no Josh Hoover, that really takes some punch out of this one. And we'll see Ken Seals, see what he can do for the Frogs and Sonny Dykes. He's a guy who's been around in the college game at this point a pretty long while, and he's got big shoes to fill, obviously, with Hoover being the great player that he is. But TCU is a proud program. Sonny Dykes is a solid coach, and I think the Frogs will be ready to give it a fight. I would lean USC, though, just because of the Hoover factor. But it's a great opportunity. I mean, I think it's been a pretty successful bowl season. I haven't really looked at the conference breakdown, but I know based off of this past weekend, seeing Houston's big win over LSU and then seeing BYU's big win over Georgia Tech, like a nice start for that league. So if TCU could somehow win this game, sans Hoover, then that would be a really nice feather in Brett Yormark's cap as well during bowl season. But, easier said than done. 8 o'clock kickoff for that one for those interested or maybe driving along, and that will be your nightcap.
The transfer portal opens officially at midnight on Friday, January 2nd. It's the only portal window this year, and there's not another one that was happening, remember, back in the spring. I saw a note where over 3,000 names have already entered the portal. There will be hundreds and hundreds more. And here's one that will be of interest. Utah. Max Olson with this note. John Henry Daly, All-American defensive end at Utah, had a huge year. Led the nation with TFLs and also second in the country in sacks with 11.5 before he had the season come to an end with an injury. He put up a statement telling Utah fans that he loved his time, but it's time for him get healthy and then enter the portal. Anyone can use a disruptive defensive lineman, and he's now available to the rest of the country,
including his former head coach there in Ann Arbor, which is a story that I missed being out for a couple of days. The big Kyle Whittingham to Michigan news, and I don't know if we'll circle back around that at another point, but just really shocked when I saw that come down, and not shocked in like just never could have seen this happening type of a thing, but just never expected it to end up to where Michigan would have to wrap around to Kyle Whittingham. And then simultaneously, he would have made the decision to basically step away from Utah and then have all this chatter about, well, he's retired, according to some Utah fans. No, he's not. Everybody else says, yes, he is. He'll never coach anywhere else. And the next thing you know, he's the head coach in Michigan. And what a whirlwind that was. And incredibly interested to see how that works out here over the next couple of years. But he's a great coach. I think the Michigan fell into a great hire, and he would be a great first target for Whittingham, who I think the big question with him is his recruiting. And is it going to be up to snuff for Big Ten standards for competing against Ohio State and Oregon and Indiana even? But I think his familiarity with some of that Utah roster is going to definitely come in handy here in this portal cycle. But John Henry Daly will have suitors from all over. And he's a really good player. Unfortunately, his season got cut short. At least it was later on in the year, but he's got a couple of years left to play and wreak havoc, and he will for whoever he signs up with.
Well, Whittingham, we had a bunch of audio from him and others yesterday. It was an unbelievable story, and it's almost like he fell in the lap of Michigan. Some in the chat room yesterday saying, no, that was their number one choice from the beginning.
No, it wasn't.
And, well, it doesn't matter. He's now the head coach. You're right, Craig. But happy for Kyle Whittingham. He seemed to be refreshed and juiced up and said, forget about my age. I signed a 5-year deal.
Yeah, I don't think he was the number one choice. I will disagree there. Now, I'm not going to fight anybody over it. I find that highly doubtful. But who knows? Maybe he writes a book one day and we find out that the reason he stepped away was because he had a seed planted in his ear that the Michigan job would open up. I don't know. But regardless, it worked out really well for him. He takes a step up. If you look at just kind of the landscape, I think that's very fair to say. With as much as you respect Utah as a program, they're not Michigan. And so he takes a step up. And then I think Michigan could have really fallen flat on their face and could have really been without a lot of firm answers. But they end up with, as good of a coach as you ever could have imagined as far as experience and no drama and pedigree and all of those things. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see who he brings on staff, because you see like the BYU fans were mentioning Kyle Whittingham didn't retire. They were the ones that were like, hey, man, Utah fans, y'all think he's just going to walk away? He's not going to coach anywhere. And those two, they argue about everything. They don't agree on a single thing other than they both love being from the state of Utah, I suppose. But there was that chatter, and I mentioned it like on the last show I was on. And I've said, BYU likes to poke and back and forth, but they have a legitimate point here in that Kyle Whittingham didn't say anything about retiring. And now I think it's going to be really interesting that Morgan Scalley's got to fill these big shoes, but he's also going to have to do it now parallel in some ways to Whittingham, who you're going to have this comp to because of whatever he's doing in Michigan, right? So if he goes over there and has a ton of success and Scalley struggles, well, then it's like a double whammy for you if you're a Ute fan. So I think everybody's waiting with bated breath was waiting with bated breath to see who Michigan would eventually hire. It was a slam dunk, and now waiting with bated breath to see how he does. But I think he'll have a lot of people interested in going to play for him there in Ann Arbor for sure.
So there's that one. And All-American defensive lineman available. 5-star freshman quarterback. Just a couple of nuggets because we don't have time for 3,000 of the names and whatever's also got in the portal today. But this was one of them. Deuce Knight, the 5-star quarterback at Auburn. Obviously, Hugh Freeze gone, and they have replaced it with USF and Alex Golish. Expected to enter the portal. Didn't do a lot. Didn't play a lot. They had a mixed bag, of course, at quarterback, including Jackson Arnold. But he has entered the portal. He had a pretty good game. The one game he started against Mercer with 6 touchdowns and 400 yards.
Yeah, it was a great game against a Mercer team that didn't give him the stiffest competition, but he still balled out, and so you give him credit for that. He could have played poorly against Mercer. He could have thrown a couple turnovers, not really done much, but he had a big game, and that made you feel good about beating competition that you should be beating up on, and given his lack of experience at this point, good to just get him out there for a run. And so I don't know what exactly his market looks like other than he will obviously have a pretty nice market, being a young and talented player who's still very raw and could use some more development. But, they just add another name to the quarterback list, and I know we'll probably get to some others here. But I don't know exactly where he would fall in terms of favorites and things like that. Haven't done a lot of research on that at this point. But just more fallout for Auburn, and Alex Golish, I think, will do a great job there, but he does have a lot to clean up in the meantime.
Devin McCune, very explosive wide receiver for Jeff Traylor in UTSA. He knows he's going to lose some players. Already had players leave even before they won that game in the bowl game a couple of days ago. He has entered the portal. Young man from East Texas, from Jacksonville High School, 1,696 yards and 16 touchdowns. Again, a threat to beat people deep. He enters the portal from the Roadrunners.
I want to get to McCune, but do you have another Deuce quarterback entering the portal that you were going to mention?
Yeah, I do. Deuce Adams. Yeah.
Well,
just go ahead and say it. We'll say him, and then we'll get to that one.
Okay, well, I just kind of wanted to loop it all together. But Louisville quarterback Deuce Adams is also jumping into the portal, and the point I was going to make was just that there's a lot of Texas quarterbacks that are in the portal. If you look at the guys who have entered into that list so far, there are a lot of former Texas high school football players that are jumping in there. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the local schools try to scoop those guys up and sort of how they fan out. But Devin McCune, I think, is a really solid player, and it's just at this point, the reality is that if you're UTSA, it doesn't really matter what you do. You're going to lose guys at the end of the year to the transfer portal, most likely, no matter how much money you raise or how many games you win or how much of a culture you have. I mean, this is just their norm now, and it's unfortunate. I wonder for Jeff Traylor when he will perhaps get an opportunity to maybe take a step up, but it doesn't seem like that's really in the cards right now, and obviously hasn't been these last few years, and so he's kind of at the mercy of this thing where he's doing his damnedest that he can with that program. But there's just no stopping the exit and no stopping people from coming and getting his players, because he recruits really good players and he develops them really well. And there's a lot of people that see the talent that's on that roster. And if he could ever hold it all together, they'd be really damn good. But in his situation, it's just seemingly impossible in this day and age to do that. So I think McCune's a heck of a player, and somebody will get a good one.
By the way, the Deuce Adams, the Louisville, one quick note on him. He was at Vandergrift, same school Mestemaker went to when he was at Vandergrift. And so he's in the portal. We told you yesterday about Mestemaker at North Texas in the portal, too.
He's the reason Mestemaker didn't play any of the high school games.
We covered him. We had him a couple of times when they played Midway in games down in Belton.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get out of order here, but it's just that the Texas quarterback thing, I was looking at the list of portal guys earlier, and it's like quarterback from Texas, Sorsby, Hoover, Adams, and so on, and so Mestemaker. Deuce Adams was the guy that moved in when his father was hired to that staff and took that starting quarterback job. And that's why you hear the Mestemaker lore of why he never started a varsity game was because of Deuce. So now they'll both be in the portal. And funny thing is that Mestemaker will be a more highly sought after player these 2-3 years later from when they first crossed paths. But it's the portal's nuts. It really is.
All right. And then the last night I reached out to Travis Hines, who covers Iowa State. There were some stories, Twitter, about Iowa State was down to 17 players on their roster. So I reached out to Travis. I said, hey, can you help me out with this? And then you saw his response. There's a tweet going around saying that, but no, it's not true. They got about 30 scholarship players who have not said where they're transferring, or if they are, still not a lot, but not the 17 like I saw the viral tweet earlier in the day. And so I reached out to him to get clarification. But still, obviously, a shell of a roster compared to when Matt Campbell was there until he took the job at Penn State.
Yeah, I don't know why that went so viral without people fact checking it, other than that's just social media, and you got these aggregate accounts that sometimes just throw stuff out there, and I don't know where they get it from, and I especially don't know when it's so not right why it's taken the way that it is, other than you just see it and believe it, which I never do at this point. But yeah, I saw that as well, and it got a big response, and ultimately that's all what the point is, and that's why I kind of hate the way X in particular is monetized to where it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It just matters that people look at it. And I don't know if there was any ill intentions on the part of the account that put that out there, or if they were just incorrect on what they were saying, but good to have some clarification, because when I did see that, I go, wait a second. I know there's a lot of guys that have jumped in the portal, but I don't see how it's possible that you have 17 guys on the roster. That just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm glad that Travis provided some insight there and really set the record straight, although that won't travel as fast as the incorrect information. But good to know what the reality is and what they're dealing with in Ames, which is regardless of whether it's 17 or it's an uncertain amount because of the portal and you don't know who's going to come back or not. There is a very big uphill battle to climb right now for that new staff, and they know it, and it'll be a very busy offseason for them.
I mean, just think about it, though. There will be several schools that have perhaps 25 to 35 or 40 players who are left after the portal opens up on Friday, if not less. Clemson looking for a new offensive coordinator because, well, Garrett Riley was fired yesterday. So who do they look to replace him? Chad Morris, who's been around, been at Clemson. Watching his son play at Virginia with the nice win they had in the bowl game. Chad Morris, according to Bruce Feldman, is a name to think about, look at, and also possibly a response for Clemson to hire him with Riley on the way out the door.
Yeah, Riley just didn't do a very good job there, and Dabo's got to make some changes. Called that Penn State over Clemson Bowl, by the way. Didn't get them all right, but that one I just kind of took a little bit of a chance on, and Penn State came through for Terry Smith, so that was pretty cool to see for the Nittany Lions after a very up-and-down year for them. And I know at this point people love seeing Dabo take blows, and that was another blow to a guy who was on top of the college football world not that long ago, but has seemingly just been kind of swimming against the current now for the last couple of years. And I think the Riley move didn't work out like you had hoped and anticipated that it would, so time to make a change, and it won't be the last change by any stretch for Clemson this offseason. But to see the name Chad Morris dust his name off, right? We haven't seen that in a couple of years, and there is familiarity and there's a lot of experience. So, okay, why the hell not? I mean, let's see what happens post Cade Klubnik there in South Carolina, and if they can't get back to their winning ways. But even somebody like me who kind of defended Dabo, at least early on, of I just, let's face it, Paul's a little bit biased about certain Florida, anything Florida in particular, Clemson, I feel like, but he was right in talking about Dabo, the game kind of passing him by to some degree as far as the off the field stuff. And I thought Dabo, at least early on, was going to be able to manage it a little bit better than he has, but I've lost faith in that. And I'm kind of where everybody else is now, of like, yeah, I do think the game's passed him by or passed his ways by a little bit. And so he's having to adapt like everybody else and reach into the past to try and do that, to try and get things on track.
There was a time when he was the hottest name in coaching in the NFL with Philadelphia. And then all of a sudden he's been a coordinator, and Chip Kelly is now joining the staff at Northwestern after his time recently. Oregon, of course, initially, then UCLA. He's been elsewhere, and now he will be a part of Northwestern moving forward as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think Chip Kelly is a guy that has obviously a lot of experience, is very well known, and it's just been really, really odd to kind of watch him bounce around the last few years. So Northwestern feels like he's slowly going backwards a little bit as far as the pedigree of the school that he's been coaching up. But okay, yeah, let's see what he can do for the Wildcats and what he can bring to the Lakeside there. Seems to be a nice hire on paper. Would need to do a lot more looking into their roster to kind of have any expectation, but it's certainly a splash hire. I will say that it is definitely a splash hire for Northwestern.
And of course they had a change, and that's what also forces him to look elsewhere with the change they have that's taken part in a big chunk of that Oregon coaching staff as they're in preparations for that game Thursday against Tech. Julian Sayin was a Heisman finalist, didn't win it. Obviously Fernando Mendoza did. But he was also today named the Shawn Alexander Freshman Player of the Year from the Maxwell Award Club. And he gets it. He had over 3,300 yards passing, a great interception touchdown ratio, 31 touchdowns, just 6 picks, threw one against Indiana, and completed nearly 80% of his passes as a freshman. Once, of course, was a part of Alabama, and he wins the Shawn Alexander Award from the Maxwell Club.
Good for him. Awards continue to trickle out, and I think Julian Sayin proved himself time and again this past season. Didn't ever feel like he jumped out to me maybe individually the way some other guys did, like a Diego Pavia, for example. And we talked about the Heisman last time I was around here. I think Mendoza was a great selection, especially with the hijinks or the reaction of Pavia afterwards. But, Sayin was there as well, and a little bit of kind of a distant thought as far as being the winner. Didn't ever feel like he really had a shot to win that thing at the end, but he had a great year, has had a great year, and he's going to be leading the charge for a team that most people expect to win this whole thing when all is said and done. So, yeah, he's been great for the Buckeyes, and congrats to him on some more hardware. I'd imagine that young man, without knowing his history off the top of my head, has a pretty full trophy case with all his accolades over the years.
Before we get to this last story, somebody just asked, and I put it up on Twitter and also in the chat room. Our guest today will include Shahan Jeyarajah. Shawn Bell, assistant head coach at Houston, will join us. Scott Drew will be live with us on the show, and John McClain of Hall of Fame columnist will join us as well on the show today. And then this story, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award has already announced that Georgia Tech quarterback and Longview native Haynes King has won their award. They'll have that on January, 21st in Tyler. They also have started the first ever Legends Recipient Award, and it goes to one of the great names ever at Temple Dunbar, University of North Texas, and Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Famer Joe Green.
Yeah, that's one of Earl's pals from back in the day, still buddies all these years later, and a new addition to that award. It's an offensive award, but they're branching out with the legends aspect of it to really try and encompass as many people and as much of the game as possible, although the award will stick to being offensive related. But give us some love to the defense, and doing so by starting off their Legends Award with who better than Mean Joe Green. I mean, that's as big of a name as you can get as far as some of the legends go. So, yeah, I think Earl's excited about it. I think Mean Joe's excited about it, and looking forward to seeing him honored along with Haynes King there in Tyler here in a few weeks.
And so that comes up, I think it's January the 21st. So Steve Sarkisian today at a press conference. They, of course, Texas plays Michigan, and was discussing agents. We're going to hear from him on what he said about that. And he also made a couple of comments as well about the NIL salary cap. We'll have that and more. Plus, NCAA President Charlie Baker today with a statement about with what became such a big story on Sunday, Monday, and even today with Baylor signing former G League player James Naji and his thoughts. And a lot of people, oh, my God, what, do they change their mind? No. We'll have that and tell you what that is, and Scott Drew will discuss that as well with us at 4:40. A lot to get to today. The update from Coastal Carolina and their game that should be late third quarter by now. They had up 14-6 lead. Coastal Carolina now with the lead against Louisiana Tech in Shreveport. That game score 14-6 now with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. When we come back, 365 Sports, Garrett Ross, thank you for being here today. Also, Andrew Valade is here today. Craig Smoak back today. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. Don Chubador and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills and in between Valley Mills and Richland Drive in Waco. And Joshua and Cheyenne run it. 48-foot walk-in humidor with some of the great brands of cigars. Name one. Name any of them. Padron, Cohiba, Macanudo, Rocky Patel, Romeo and Julieta, Artur Fuente. My Father is a great brand. La Fontana is a great brand, and so much more. And if you want to order with what they have, and we would appreciate it if you're a viewer of this show and support one of our sponsors, they have the website they put up in recent weeks, donshumidorwaco.com. If you use the code word SMOKEY, SMOKEY, you will get 25% off the entire cart that you order. I went online. I could drive over there. It's like a 12 to 15-minute drive from where I live. But I went online to see if it worked, got my cigars the next day, had them ready for me, and you can do that. And, yes, they could also be sent to you as well. They have CBD product, Vita Dreams, to help you at night if you just need to kind of like calm down and not worry about things that are on your mind. And it's not like it knocks you out. You take a couple of one or two or whatever gummies. Next thing you know, you fall asleep. And then on top of that, if you're a pipe smoker, you can also find what they have with pipes and more, the tobacco you need. And the accessories, if you smoke cigars, from cutters to the torch lighters to humidors and more. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Remember, it's donhumidorwaco.com, code word SMOKEY, Smokey.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
At Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, we're proud to be your premier destination in Waco for exceptional automotive service. Whether you're searching for a new vehicle, a quality pre-owned car, or dependable service and parts, our team is here to take care of you every step of the way. Visit Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, where great deals, friendly service, and your next ride are waiting. Come by, let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So a lot of bowl games, of course, have not yet been played, and we will update you continually on Coastal Carolina, La Tech, and the games into the weekend, including into the night, Illinois and Tennessee, which is a nice one. And then tonight, TCU and USC later tonight down in San Antonio. But there are some press conferences. I saw where Steve Sarkisian was discussing in his press conference. Somebody asked him about the salary cap. And he was discussing, he said, by the way, there is a salary cap, but it's not being enforced. And this is from a school that you know can pay and get whatever they want and spend what they want. Doesn't mean they're going to just go crazy, because they also can probably be a little bit smarter. And doesn't mean they're perfect when it comes to the portal or even NIL, but they're not going to overpay too often. Now, there's going to be a player or two that they jump in and go, yeah, no, we're going to get him. So he was discussing that. He goes, but there is a salary cap. The other part of today's conversation was about something that if everybody looks at the problems when it comes to college football, the problems is no rules are enforceable. But one of them are the agents representing whether high school players, college players, or whoever else. And Sarkisian with his note on that.
I think it's all so strategic, right? Because it's one about need, it's two about money, and the cost, and where's the market, and which agent you're dealing with. There's some agents that are rational, and there's some that this is their first time ever being an agent. I don't even know if they're licensed to be agents, but all of a sudden they get to be agents, because we have no certification process in college football. Or in the NFL, you have to be certified. In college football, it might be their college roommate, their freshman year, who's their agent right now. And this guy's throwing numbers at you, and it's like, we can't even deal with this. Like, you just move on. And so it's unfortunate, and we'll get there in college football, but right now it's a tough situation. That being said, although there's so many factors that come into what you're trying to do, what are our needs, what are our luxuries, right? Those are two different things. And then trying to find the right mix and the right fit, because we can't lose sight of some of these kids that we signed out of high school either. Like, we got a pretty good running back coming in by the name of Derek Cooper that we're excited about as well. And so again, we've got to have our list of needs, our list of wants, and our list of luxuries. And then what's the dollar sign next to all that? Okay. And then what's the bottom dollar from an organizational standpoint? And the idea that I can sit up here in 2025 and talk about money and players and things is pretty crazy, right? From where we've gotten to where we were 4 or 5 years ago to where we are today. But that's the reality of the situation of college football right now. And that's where we are. Again, I think there's nothing wrong with that. We just got to tighten it up. And hopefully we can get there sooner rather than later. Because again, I'm probably going to be on the phone with an agent today that's going to throw a number at me that I'm going to be like, good luck. I hope you get it. If you don't, call us back. But I can't do that number.
He was talking, of course, they've lost the running back room. Basically, the latest was Trey Wisner. We discussed him. Some of them, they probably said you probably could move on or whatever. But they do have the great running back out of Florida. He mentioned that at his press conference today, that they're looking forward to getting on campus as soon as possible.
Yeah, I follow Trey from when we covered him at Connolly High School, which was not his last stop because they ended up at the powerhouse DeSoto before it was all said and done. And I saw Trey or Contravian put out, and who the hell knows? Like I stopped years ago trying to decipher emojis, especially from guys who are being recruited, because I mean, Lord knows what they're actually referring to. But he did have like a house emoji and like a question mark or something along those lines. And I was like, oh, is that like good news for Baylor maybe? And I was like, wait, where's he from? I don't even know really.
I think originally might have been from Mejia.
So yeah. I don't know who that would, I mean, but he's also then ending his career at DeSoto. So like, yay, SMU, maybe? I don't know. But I think he's going to be a great pickup for whoever gets him. On the Sark thing, I believe that with the heaps and mounds and piles of things that need to be cleaned up, it's a long list. But certainly the agent process, or those who are considered agents, is something that could definitely use a deep dive and a bit of a look over on who is involved and should they be involved in some cases. I'm of the opinion that if we're going to go to where we need to be as rock solid of a sport as we can possibly be, and we're going to try to be the NFL in every way, but actually being the NFL, and we want to maintain some semblance of this being college, but also understanding that it's a pro game, then I think you should have agents that are certified. I don't think that's asking a lot. I think that's just being smart. I think that's just doing the right thing for the player. You want to hear all this right thing for the player? Like, wouldn't he be better off with an agent that's certified, has been through the process, as opposed to somebody who literally I could go do it right now. I could just start a business and create a website and say, Craig Smoak Talent Company. Yep. And I'm an agent, just like that. I think I probably need a little bit more learning before I did that. But yeah, I'm all for kind of rooting out some of it's always the uncles that get blamed, right? Like Uncle Johnny or whoever, or Cousin Larry, or the guy who's a friend of a friend of a friend that you know from growing up. Some of these guys I think are probably well-meaning, but if you had a certification process, I don't know how that hurts anybody other than people who wouldn't want to be certified because they don't want to do it the right way. If you're worried about the length of the schooling or what it would take, I'm not sure in the particulars of that, but I think all of that could be worked out, even to the point where you can be going through that process and do your job. But I've seen a couple guys who are quote unquote agents push back on this idea entirely. And you know what it does? It makes me completely skeptical of them as legitimate professional businessmen. That's what it makes me think, because why would you be opposed to something like that? If it's because you don't have it, okay, then you can go get it. And that's all there is to it. But if you're opposed to it entirely, I think you're worried the jig is up and you're going to be called out for what you actually are. So I don't know why anybody who is an agent, who should, and I'm sure has the best intentions for the player, and it's all about the player, and we're here for the player. Well, I think the player should have the best representation possible and as professional as possible. Yeah, because you don't know. One, are they giving up too much of their money because of the commission's too high? By the way, I went online and said, how long does it take to become certified agent, a professional agent? And this is with the NFL. It could be anywhere between 2 and 6 months. Now, I'm going to also send a note to Drew Pittman, who is an agent. And I'm going to ask him, is that something where you have to go to school for a long time? Is it something you can study online and get that response
from him too.
Yeah, and I don't think you'd have to say, well, you all have to be done with this. Like I said, if you're in the process of that, showing that you're moving towards that. Now, maybe there's some particulars that I'm missing. It all sounds very generalized, I know, but I don't know why anyone, if we're truly in it for the best interest of these young men and women, I don't know why anyone would be opposed to agents actually being and operating like actual agents, not cousin Jeff, who decided that he's going to start an Instagram page for his talent agency, right? I mean, look, there's probably a lot of those guys and gals who are actually really good at it. Even more reason to put them in the professional ranks and perhaps move up their own selves. But this whole street agent thing, I don't think it should have a place in the new college football moving forward if we're going to really do what's best for the game and everybody involved.
Here are the college football picks, and this might be the most boring 7 to 8 minutes. I don't know, because here's what happened last week. I took a beating to get. I am in a terrible free fall. I have Paul even gained another game on me, but still not a threat. But Craig now up by 2 because of the pick of, there we go. I picked Clemson. Paul picked Clemson. I'm stunned because Paul hates Clemson. The UConn Army game was me. I admitted that when we were making our picks because it was too late for me to change it. I misread what Vegas had about that game. So that's just me not paying attention. So there we are with Craig up by 2. There are not many games left. There's a chunk of them this week, but not many after this particular week.
Yeah, and we'll see if we have any differences or not. I'm not going to play defense. I'm going to pick who I want to pick because I feel like when you try to play defense with the lead, it always costs you. So I'm not going to go like, well, he picked so-and-so, so I'm just going to block you out. I wouldn't be that kind of competitor. So if we got picks all the same or all different, it's just what we're going to roll with. And I've lost plenty of things before. I could lose this again, but I do feel good about having a 2-game lead. And that UConn game, you made a miscalculation, and I don't know. I don't take this the wrong way, but didn't do your research because UConn had so many opt-outs post Jim Moore leaving that it was really an uphill battle for them, including their terrific quarterback in Fagnano. And then with Clemson, Penn State was the one taking all the headlines with the opt-outs, or what you thought was going to be a ton of opt-outs, and Terry Smith and the changeover. But when you went and looked at Clemson, Cade Klubnik was going to play, but they had a lot of opt-outs as well. And so I just felt like the Terry Smith factor, and I don't remember if I said this on the show or not, but I felt like there was going to be kind of a rallying around him. And sure enough, there was. And that was a really nice win for Penn State. The game I got wrong, San Diego State. I mean, I knew that was a risky pick because UNT's been so good. I just thought with no Eric Morris. But guess what they did have? They had Drew freaking Messamaker. They had
Wyatt Young,
Caleb Hawkins, and Wyatt Young. They had potentially like the 3 biggest stars of Oklahoma State's team next year.
Miles Coleman.
Or maybe they're spread out. I think the UNT departures post bowl game were all to be expected, but I'm really intrigued by whether Eric Morris can kind of grab all those guys in mass, or the bulk of them, especially Young, Hawkins, and Messamaker. If he can, then I think that is a terrific haul to start things off in Stillwater. But yeah, congrats to UNT. Looked like it was going to be a blowout. I felt kind of dumb, and then by the end of it, it was a hell of a barn burner of a game. So
I did get a feedback, remind me on Drew Pittman telling me what it takes to become an NFL certified agent. Will tell you that. That's not college, but an NFL certified agent. So here we go with the games that Andrew gave us to pick for this week. We start with, the game in the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State and Miami, and I'll take the Buckeyes.
I am going to take the Buckeyes as well. I think Miami's got a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they're sitting out there with feeling like they've got something to prove, although Ohio State is magically trying to play the we're getting disrespected card. Now, granted, it's just a couple of their reporters who are clearly wearing like the Buckeyes jersey while they're typing these things out, but I just found it hilarious that Ohio State could be playing the they don't believe in us card, but we've seen what Kirby Smart and Georgia have tried to play that card before. So whatever motivates you, I think this is a really intriguing game because I do think a lot of people just default to Ohio State because they're arguably the best team in this entire tournament. But Miami is really, really good, and kudos to them. I mean, looked like they were going to be a part of a really embarrassing storyline for the ACC. They get that life raft thrown their way, and then they go and take full advantage of it and go down to College Station and win a really competitive game. That defense is nasty. Now, I think Julian Sain and company is a step up as far as just overall offense goes. But, yeah, this is going to be a fun battle in the trenches. And then, obviously, you got guys like Malachi Toney and a terrific running back and a really good veteran quarterback. So I'm going to take the Buckeyes, but I'm really intrigued with this game.
Yeah, nice win for, obviously, Miami going into Kyle Field and winning that game in a banger, low-scoring banger that all of a sudden the hair was on fire. Next game, Paul, by the way, go back to that again, Garrett. I'm sorry. Paul picked Ohio State. Next game, man, how many people excited about this one? First thing Thursday morning, Texas Tech and the Red Raiders against Oregon, and I have Texas Tech. They're not favored, but I do have the Red Raiders winning the game down in Miami.
Last I looked, Oregon was 2 3-point favorites along those lines. I haven't really monitored the line while we've been gone, but that's not surprising. I think this is a toss-up type of a game, and will, like probably most of these games, come down to the typical things. Turnovers, can you get to the quarterback, things like that. So that it's not cliche, because those are the big important things, explosive plays, etc. The thing with both these teams is they can do all of that. But I'm going to ride with Texas Tech. I think it's imperative, like I said earlier, for the portrayal and the overall kind of discussion around the Big 12. I think they've got that weight on their shoulders to kind of try to deliver for the league. Now, that's not going to affect this game in any way, but I think it's going to empower them, if anything else. I think that Tech's ready for this opportunity. They know they're looked at as like the team that bought their way into this tournament, but they're playing a team that bought their way into a lot of success in the 90s and 2000s and the 2010s in Oregon. So I've found some of the discourse leading to this game. You would think based on some Oregon fans, they've won 10 national titles in football. You would think that they've done this with no Phil Knight. You would think that there are no comparisons between these two, when actually it's like old Oregon meeting new Oregon in a way. So I don't know where some Ducks fans are coming from and trying to like purify their climb and compare it to Texas Tech, and now Texas Tech is all dingy and dirty and wrong. But it's basically the same thing. It's just a different set of rules they're playing by at this point. But I'm going to go with Tech. I think this is going to be electric. This is the game I'm most looking forward to by far. And I think the Red Raiders win it thanks in part to that pass rush and just their individual playmakers, I think, step up and make some big plays. Because even though the offense isn't always extremely consistent and Oregon's going to be a huge challenge for them, I do like, much like I like with Oregon, their explosive playability. So I do feel like in some ways they're kind of looking into a similar mirror, but I just like what Tech compiled on the defensive side to be disruptors and game changers, and I think they'll make a couple game-changing plays in this game.
All right, you take Tech as well. Paul takes Tech as well, so we're all the same in the first two games. Third game, Indiana and Alabama. And I normally would kind of at times defer. Oh, man. But I know Alabama had the nice comeback against Oklahoma, but I love what Cignetti, I love what Indiana's doing. I think that one of the things that get overlooked is their defense is really good. The size of their wide receivers. Alabama played so well the last 2.5 quarters to come back, but I'm taking the Hoosiers to win the Rose Bowl.
Well, I did feel like up until Alabama's playoff win over Oklahoma that a lot of people were still treating Alabama like Nick Saban was the coach, and I felt like it was finally time to stop doing that. And then DeBoer jumps up and he wins a big game, and I was glad to see that because I do feel like sort of when we talk about Alabama big picture-wise, they're still treated sometimes like it's the Saban run and it's never ended. And so, no, it's the DeBoer run now. And they're going to have some pitfalls from time to time, and they certainly did at the beginning of the year. But kudos to Bama for bouncing back. And I know there's debate on them and the playoff and everything, but they were left out a year ago, got into it this year, took advantage of their opportunity in the first round and found themselves in this position after a really fun game against Oklahoma. So that was a great win in Norman, but I'm going to take Indiana. I think I just think they're just so well coached, and not that Alabama isn't, but there's just it's hard to kind of find weaknesses on Indiana. They just play so clean, smart, and they just fit so well together. I'm just, as a guy who was kind of put off by Curt Cignetti's sort of brashness initially, I've come to like it a lot more and appreciate a lot more because he is still technically an underdog at a school like Indiana. The fact that he's staying there makes it feel even better that you don't wait for him to lose this game and then jump off to a plane to Baton Rouge or something. So I think the fun story continues with the Heisman Trophy winner. They're pulling the trigger and just a really great team around Mendoza. Give me the Hoosiers to win the Rose Bowl.
All right, so there's the Hoosiers. We're still right on, like, perfect. Here's Paul, Indiana, number 1 ranked team in the country. So all 3 games, we have the same winners so far. One more quarterfinal round game. I take Georgia, a great game when they met earlier in the year. Ole Miss looked just really good in their win against Tulane, like they hadn't lost a beat, maybe even more motivated than ever, down at the Caesars Superdome, and I'll take the Bulldogs to win in what I think will be a lower scoring game than when they played before, but I still think Georgia wins the game.
Is this the final pick, Garrett, of the 4?
We have one more game.
We have one more. Okay. Well, we're not different at all so far. So, give me Georgia as well. That was a really interesting first matchup, and obviously a lot has changed on the Ole Miss side of things. I mean, they've kept the roster together, but there's a lot of back and forth, the coaching staff and all of that. I like the way Georgia's playing when we last laid eyes on them, and then just even if this was head up Lane Kiffin and it was round 2, I would still pick Georgia in this game just based on kind of how we left off. But now, especially with the changeover to Pete Golding, Quan Lacey's expected to play. I did see that earlier, so that's great news. The young man from Texas and just a hell of a running back. But yeah, I'm going to take Georgia in the rematch and don't have like a breakdown specifically of like, well, I think they're secondary and this and that. I just feel Georgia in this game, and I always default to my gut ultimately for better or worse. And so I'm riding with the Bulldogs in New Orleans.
Let's see what Paul says, and he stays with Georgia. So 4 games, all 4 the same picks, and that's fine. That's, there's plenty of games to go, and here is the last game. This one is so juicy to me. Navy, after the win against Army, we saw what Army did with that great win against UConn. Very impressive win against UConn, against the Bearcats and Cincinnati. And I'll take, I have to, the midshipmen.
You don't have to, but you always do.
Always
and
do, yeah.
I'm going to take Navy as well. Just too many questions for Cincinnati, starting with the quarterback spot and Brennan Sorsby. And by the way, I guess we'll go ahead and mention it here, but I'd like to talk about it later if we have time. It's just scuttlebutt on Twitter, but I had a couple of Texas writers, Bobby Burton, I believe it was, and is it Jerry Hamilton, I think, that just kind of threw out there into the ether that they were hearing Brennan Sorsby to LSU is the thing to bank on right now, whereas Sorsby appeared to be maybe a lock for Texas Tech. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe he still ends up in Lubbock. I haven't been following along very closely the last few days because of the holidays, but that just jumped out to me prior to the show, so that would be interesting. And Garrett actually doesn't love that.
I do not,
yeah,
man.
if that were to happen, but that's what they threw out there, so we'll see if they're correct or not. They're pretty well connected, but with no Sorsby and just a lot of question marks at Cincy right now, give me Navy, who's had a great year, Blake Horvath and company to get the job done and finish off a really fun season. And the head coach, his name escapes me, the Baylor alum for Navy.
Newberry.
Yeah, Newberry.
Yeah,
I think
Brian
he's done
Newberry.
an excellent job there, and I think they close out this season with a big win over a Big 12 squad.
Let's see what Pablo says, and he goes with Navy. So all 5 games, games are exactly the same, so there will be no movement. Craig will remain 2 up. Paul will be 8 back of me and 10 back of Craig, and we're running out of the games. So what do they call that? The magic number right now in Craig's favor with just a few left for next week.
How many games will we have, Andrew? I mean, there's going to be 3 playoff games after this, right? But is there anything else bowl game-wise that we'll have, you think? Yeah, I don't think we will, so it's going to come down to 3 games. So, I mean, if you want to, send your email in secret so you don't feel I get to see yours or something. But not trying to box you out at all. I feel like these are the picks to make. And
there are games still, and there's still games to be played. Like on January 2nd, there's SMU, Arizona. So we'll end up with 5 games to be able to pick. There's 2 semifinals, And then the following week, of course, or so, there'll be the championship game. So we'll have 5 games next week.
I think we kind of hit on most of the consensus picks, though. I don't think there's a lot of differentiating from. I mean, maybe when you get down to actually doing the spread, but head up, I think that's kind of common where a lot of people are finding themselves with these picks for the CFP.
So I reached out to NFL agent Drew Pittman about how long does it take to become certified as an NFL agent. You have to have a graduate degree and pass a test administered once a year sometime, I think he said, in October. Depends on, I said, how much do they get for commission? And that's what you hear some agents getting more than others. It all depends on a few things, but with new draft-eligible players, it's usually 1% for the first round, 2% for the second round, and 3% if they are drafted third round and later. You are seeing numbers that could be anywhere from 10 to 20% for some of these college contracts.
Yeah, that is absolutely asinine, and anybody who's signing a deal like that's getting terrible advice. That is ridiculous, and I would pretty much guarantee that a lot of those types of contracts are not coming from people with graduate degrees or who are professional agents. I would feel safe going out on that diving board or that limb. And that's why I think that if you really do care about the players, then you can clean up that process. Now, I could see where the grad degree would be a bit of an issue for those who don't have that. And I would be willing to bet that a bunch of them don't. So do you cut them off from being able to do their business? I don't know. Maybe there's a workaround to that, but I don't see why we wouldn't want to look into that and make it as professional as possible.
It needs to be, again, something else that would nice to have some guardrails or whatever that word we can use. When we come back, it's Shawn Raja, his thoughts about the upcoming playoff games and a few other issues, too, that we'll get to topics. And then Sean Bell, now assistant head coach at Houston. They finished at 10-3 with the win against LSU, and Scott Drew later in the 4 o'clock hour. And this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. I got an email from David Gray, who runs the entire sales department at the location in Waco on Loop 340. And they have, and I mentioned this now, today's the 30th, so you have today and tomorrow, and then it's done. This Section 179 ends at the close of business on Thursday. Take advantage of Section 179 at Allen Samuels. Deduct the full purchase price of qualifying trucks, vans, and SUVs for your business and save big on your taxes. And the end of the year blowout sale continues there as well, including, how about this, the SUVs from Jeep. You have also the Ram trucks and more. Allen Samuels, save big and stress less. Drive home with a new car, truck, or SUV. Make no payments for 90 days. That's right, 90 days of extra cash in your pocket for gift gathering and also to pay bills to start the year. Unwrap the savings. Here's one of them right now. The Motor Trend Truck of the Year seemed like that's just an annual, that's who's going to get it. Allen Samuels with a Jeep Ram 1500, built tough, loaded with power, ready for anything the highways and the roads in Texas will bring your way. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. Right now, get up to $14,000 off, 3.9% and 3.9% for 72 months on the new Ram 2025 1500 Lone Star, or lock in 0% APR for 72 months. Cars, trucks, SUVs, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
At BK4, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
This is 365 Sports.
Shahan Jararaja, CBS Sports. Shahan, happy holidays and nearly New Year. Hope you've enjoyed a little bit of downtime. And obviously, we're right up against the start of the college football quarterfinal round games tomorrow night in Arlington and 3 games on Thursday. Let's discuss Texas Tech and Oregon, what it means for Tech, obviously, what the kind of year they've had. And what does this mean? Anything in particular as well for the Big 12 to get, since TCU, a playoff win?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you think about the Big 12's reputation on the national stage right now, it has been as a conference that hasn't won the games at the highest levels. And, you know, I think that it's a little unfortunate that TCU's win over Michigan gets erased the way that it does, but obviously the way that they finished the season certainly has a way to do with that as well. So I think it's a big game for the conference. I think it's a big game for Texas Tech. And when I look at this matchup, it is a really good one, probably the best matchup of the quarterfinal round. 2 teams that absolutely have the upside of winning the national championship. Maybe the fastest team in college football in Oregon against the most physical up front in Texas Tech. You look at that Texas Tech front 7 especially. I think it's as good as any in college football. And it's going to be an interesting challenge to see how they match up with an Oregon team that really has only been slowed down once this year.
Shahan, right now, Oregon's slight favorites. I think it's like 2 or 3 points last I looked. What to you makes them the favorite heading into this game?
Well, I think that for bettors especially, right, they're a more proven commodity. They've been on this stage before. They've been in the college football playoff. They've won games against elite level teams. But I think that some of this is also, I guess, what you could call brand bias, right? Like this is, I think, people being more familiar and comfortable with Oregon as a betting favorite than Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech, look, the thing that you have to say about it, right, is like they haven't played one of these elite level teams as yet. Oregon has, and they lost that game against Indiana earlier this year. So how is Texas Tech going to match up against a team that's as fast as Oregon? Right? Are they going to be playing from behind the 8 ball? Will they be able to create explosive plays against an Oregon secondary that's really, really fast? I think that's a legitimate question, but I think that what isn't a legitimate question is that they're going to be able to match up physically, especially, again, I go back to that front 7. I think that they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side as well as any team that Oregon has played this year, and I include Indiana in that. So it makes sense to me that Oregon's a slight favorite, but I actually think that Texas Tech is being undervalued.
Shahan, do you like the timing of when we've seen the games from the first round to this round to eventually semifinals and championship, or would you like to see just a little bit tighter, knowing the TV schedule, et cetera, has a lot to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that going all the way into late January is a little too late for me, right? Like, I think that I think it was Joey McGuire actually said it best. Like, this is supposed to be a fall semester sport. It's not supposed to bleed into the spring semester, and that's what it's doing by going all the way to January 19th. Now, I'll tell you selfishly, my daughter was born on January 19th, and when she was born, I thought that that was after the season was over. I thought I was in good shape. Obviously, this year now, it's the date of the national championship game, but I think that college football is a game that's meant to culminate in so many ways on New Year's Day. Of course, we've always had maybe one additional week on top of that, but to go 2 or 3 weeks on top of that, it is a lot. And there are logistical hurdles to deal with, of course. And I mean, the biggest thing is that college football can't consistently go up against the NFL. We saw that obviously with these first round games, they kind of tossed two to the side because the NFL is able to play on Saturday. So I wish it could wrap up a little bit quicker and more efficiently than it does. But also, I mean, again, this is part of the blessing and curse of having a bigger field.
Shawn, there's been so much hand-wringing about just the state of everything, but even, when we play the games, the existence of bowls and how those look. But I don't know about you, man. I really enjoy that Pop-Tarts Bowl. I mean, they've got something there. That was a hell of a game, a hell of an ending there with BYU's big win. I thought Houston LSU was very entertaining. Like, what sort of stood out to you outside of the big picture talk as far as, hey, it is still college football bowl season. It's not what it was 5-10 years ago, certainly not 20, but there's still been some fun things along the way.
Well, I think that the thing that always stands out to me is when bowl games end and when bowl season ends, it's like how much I feel like, oh, well, that was fun. That doesn't feel that different than it did before. And yeah, I mean, obviously LSU didn't have a number of players playing in that game against Houston, but like, I think that you leave that game going like, well, Houston was a 10-win team. They got to beat LSU in their last game. That was great for them. I don't feel any different about it than I did maybe a couple of years ago, right? Like, and I think that the lead up to it, you sort of feel like, oh my gosh, it's such a damper that X or Y won't be playing in this game. And when you turn on the games, it just doesn't seem to matter that much. I mean, again, I think that the big thing is like, if you are, well, first of all, if you're a gambler, like, yeah, there's not a whole lot that you can necessarily go off of when you're trying to pick these games. That is definitely something that's a little difficult. And a lot of the top players certainly are not involved in these games. But I think that the other side of this is that you do get to see a glimpse into the future. You get to see, whether it's young quarterbacks stepping into the moment, whether it is young playmakers stepping up. Like, I think that all feels very much the same to me. I think that it feels really, really cool, frankly. And so I think that some of this stuff is just, again, we go several weeks without having games to talk about, and we almost sometimes just need something to talk about. And so we talk about the death of bowl games or the sport breaking or all this stuff. Again, I think that, again, I left that BYU versus Georgia Tech game really, really excited about college football and feeling like, man, that was a really cool moment for this sport. And I totally acknowledge, like, not every single one of them feels like it. There were certainly games between power conference opponents where it felt like every single player was gone. It was very bad quality of play. But I think that I leave most of these bowl games thinking that was a lot of fun, and that's really all it's meant to be.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. Really enjoyed that Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like they just nailed something there that's pretty special. And Houston LSU was a lot of fun. I do wonder, and I know a lot of us get sponsored by these types, but I do wonder if you eliminated like the gambling element from the discussion, like the motivation for that, of how different a lot of the discussion would be. Do you agree with that?
I think that's definitely real, right? Like, I think that is such an overarching part of the sport right now that, again, one thing that's kind of killed me a little bit as somebody who covers the sport nationally is that it feels like people care less and less about players than they ever have before in terms of learning their stories, getting to grow up with them. And again, it's because they aren't staying as long as they are. But like, I think that this sort of gambling, overarching thing is a big part of the narrative of the sport. And it does make the sport more unpredictable in some ways, a bad way, when you don't even know who's going to be playing in some of these games. And so, no, I definitely think that's part of the conversation. I think that there's a group of people certainly who only watched bowl games to gamble on them. But, I think, again, as somebody who doesn't gamble, frankly, like, there also is kind of fun in the unpredictability of it, right? In the not knowing and the seeing, hey, who's going to be motivated for this game? Who's going to be ready for this game? And, so for me, like, I think that there's sort of a different kind of game within that as well.
I think it was last football season, someone who normally would just get like entrenched knowing all the names and personalities and where they're from said to me they just don't care about that anymore, because by the time they get hooked up to somebody, guess what? They're in the portal. It's like there's mercenaries. And so they weren't really, they just lost that touch of reality with college football as a fan of actually the players themselves.
No, and I think that part is absolutely real. And I do think that some of that's going to be temporary, right? Eventually, we're going to reach a point where we have players who are signed to whether it's multi-year contracts or whatever it is. I think that we're going to have more limitations, but some of that stuff is going to have to be maybe collectively bargained or something like that. The other thing too is that this was a super active coach carousel, and that's something that really does trigger second and third and fourth levels of transfer as well. I mean, it's something that goes all the way down the food chain when every one of the American Conference leaders are losing their coaches, and then they go and hire from, another group of conferences. And, so I think that this was an especially bad year, and I'm hopeful certainly that eventually we get to a point where that doesn't happen. Now, is it ever going to completely go away? I don't think so, as long as there's sort of this free transfer rule where there's no sitting out or anything like that. But I do think it is going to improve over the years. And I mean, again, the thing is too, there are multiple programs that have managed to hang on to players. Like I look even at this past year, right? Sawyer Robertson, Josh Cameron, Bryson Washington, they stick around at Baylor, just as an example. And I think that in years like that, you're going to have longer stories. You do have more opportunities because of the money as well to create those opportunities, but we have to, I think, reach a little bit more of a standardization for this sport to really make much sense.
So I know we've got those other games to get to, but I do want to know your opinion on Kyle Whittingham. I know you've written about it, spoken about it on social media, but for our audience, your thoughts on how this all worked out so well for Michigan, and now this very interesting storyline where Utah goes, wait, what is? Thought you were retiring. What is this all about? Just crazy how this all worked out for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I mean, here's the funny thing about it, right, is that it was literally 2019 was when they named a head coach in waiting in Morgan Scally, because Kyle Whittingham said, I don't know that I'm going to do this forever. And now apparently he wants to do this forever. Yeah. But I think that it was an absolutely perfect decision by Michigan. I said it even at the time that this happened. They're not going to be able to go through a normal coaching search, right? They're not going to be able to find a long-term option because most of the long-term options have either one, moved this cycle, or two, signed major contracts to stay with their schools. So unless you were going to go in and pay a huge amount of money to break a contract with Clark Lee or Kenny Dillingham or Brent Key or one of these coaches, like the reality was these guys just weren't going to be available to you. So to get somebody who I expect will be a 3 to 4 year stopgap, I think is a really smart decision. Whatever you want to say about Kyle Whittingham, like he is going to be a coach who leaves the program in better shape in 3 or 4 years than it is right now. They'll be able to make a more natural transition. They'll be able to have a real search on schedule, and they'll absolutely have a very talented and committed and culturally sound roster. That's something that Kyle Whittingham has delivered every single year of his coaching career. So total no-brainer to me for Michigan, and I think that it's a really smart decision that they stopped kind of trying to mess around and just went out and did it.
Who ended up with the better after it seemed like they were floundering with a hire? Michigan with Whittingham or Penn State and Matt Campbell?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, two obviously different situations. I think, look, and I'll say this too. I think that if Matt Campbell was still available earlier this cycle, I think that Michigan might have gone for him. What we've kind of heard is that Michigan and Notre Dame and Penn State were some of those programs on his very, very short list that Matt Campbell would have considered. So I'll give the slight edge to Campbell because I think that this is more likely to be a long-term solution, right? I think that he could be a 10 to 20-year coach there if he plays his cards right. Whereas Kyle Whittingham probably not going to be. He's probably going to be a 3 to 5 year sort of solution. But I mean, again, I think that both are going to have a lot of success there. I think that both could have really good teams by the next year or two. And, so again, I think that those were two really smart decisions. And especially when you give the context of Michigan being in this position in late December, that does obviously give some credence to hiring Whittingham as well.
So we talked Oregon, Texas Tech, but the starter tomorrow night, Ohio State and Miami. Buckeyes big favorites. Miami kind of a chip on their shoulder, sort of like, hey, what up? Like, look at what we did. We get into the playoff. We win our first game. Where is this on kind of your interest list of the 4 games?
Yeah, we're going to figure out really quick whether Miami can hang or not in this game. Because here's the one thing that you have to say is that there was one team that really challenged Ohio State in the trenches this year, and it was Indiana. And they lost that football game. I think that Miami has comparably good trench play to that Indiana team that beat Ohio State. What we don't know at this point is how well they'll be able to generate offense. Now, I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was in that Texas A&M game. That was obviously a very windy game, and the passing game was just a non-factor because of it. But this has been a Miami offense that's been inconsistent. There have been moments where Carson Beck looked like a first-round pick. There's been moments where they've been completely hapless. If they're not able to move the ball against this Ohio State secondary, and if they're not able to go downfield, this is going to be a very long day for Miami. But if they're able to hang strong, I do think that this defense is good enough that they're going to be able to give this Miami team opportunities to stay in this game.
So we mentioned, let's get to that. Alabama, just again, it's Alabama, but Indiana's so good. Did Alabama all of a sudden get something right when they had the comeback win against Oklahoma the way they were down 17-0? Seemed like the defense was starting to make some disruptive plays, which we haven't seen a lot of from them.
Yeah, yes and no. I think that game probably says a lot more about Oklahoma's deficiencies than it does about Alabama's strengths. But, I mean, we know that the upside is there, right? Especially when you start talking about that passing game with Ty Simpson and those really good receivers. And I think defensively, again, when they've been locked in, they've been a pretty good team. Not an elite team, but I think a pretty good team. But this Indiana team, I think, is just on another level than Alabama. I think that you look at them in the trenches, I mean, they're going to be able to, in my opinion, completely shut down that Alabama running game and make them one-dimensional. And when Ty Simpson's been pressured, he has struggled mightily as a quarterback. He's turned the ball over. He's made mistakes. He's been inaccurate. I think that that's what we're going to see from Ty Simpson against this Indiana team. And on the other side, look, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the Indiana defense for good reason, but they got the Heisman winner on the other side at quarterback as well. I honestly look at this matchup and I mean, look, maybe this is overstating it. I think that Indiana wins essentially every single positional matchup in this game. Like, they are really, really good. The one thing that you do have to question, they lost their best defensive lineman, Stephen Daly, to a freak injury while he was celebrating after the game, after winning the Big Ten title. They should be okay. They should have enough depth. But, I mean, he is a difference maker of a player. We'll kind of see whether his absence ends up playing a big role.
Shawn, don't want to rush you, but I know you're probably short on time, and we are a little bit. So Ole Miss, Georgia, round 2. Do you think this goes differently than round 1 with all of the changes, especially there in Oxford?
I think it goes differently in a real bad way for Ole Miss. I think that Georgia comes out and dominates this game. You know, whenever you have a rematch of two teams, there are two things that I really look at: roster quality and coaching quality. And I get both of those edges to Georgia. I think that this is going to be one of those games where they come out and really blow Ole Miss out of the water right from the get-go. And I do think that Ole Miss is going to fight back and give themselves a chance, but this is just a Georgia team that feels like they're peaking on defense right now. And I think that Ole Miss defense just does not scare you enough to limit Gunnar Stockton and what I still think is a pretty inconsistent Georgia offense. So I think the Dogs win easy. I think that it's not going to be to the level of their rematch against Alabama, but I do think it's not going to be a very close game.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Happy holidays. Enjoy the week of games, and then we'll discuss them again with you and who gets to the semifinals next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for having me.
Han Jararaja, CBS Sports. We appreciate his time as always. Ari Temkin is going to be at the game in Miami with Tech and also Oregon. He will join us for the segment because he's going to be there on Friday coming up at the end of this week. When we come back, Shawn Bell. Did you want to add anything? Shawn Bell, University of Houston. His brother Brian promoted. He gets promoted. He's the assistant head coach under Willie Fritz, and what a year it was for the Cougars. 10-3, the win against LSU, and he's next on 365 Sports. Well, let me tell you about Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, marcos.com. 5 locations in this area in Waco, and the fastest growing pizza brand and franchise in America. Bob Mock owns the 5 locations: Robinson, China Spring, Belle Meade, also in Woodway and Hewitt. And Marco's Pizza, my favorite, is the thin crust, all-meat pizza. And on occasion, I'll also order some wings because they're good too. If you want salads or sandwiches, the wings, as I mentioned, with different type of flavors or seasoning, they have that available. Marco's Pizza. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports.
.365 Sports rolls along. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach, will join us in the next segment. John McClain at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, and University of Houston assistant head coach, quarterbacks coach, passing game coordinator, and Shawn Bell joins us live. I think in Louisiana somewhere, if I remember correctly. I'm not always good about listening, but I did remember that. Good to see you. How you doing?
Good, Smoak. I appreciate you having me, man. It's good to see you and good to hear from you, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Great to have you as well. Can you try to explain just how you end the year? You beat LSU, the 10 wins, Willie Fritz, and where you are, the momentum that you feel within the program.
Yeah, we're super excited. I think that, going into year 2, we knew, there's some stuff we needed to build on, and we felt like we hit some home runs in the transfer portal and found the guys we felt would fit us as a football program, but also the right guys to change the culture of our locker room. And man, we hit home runs in all aspects of those guys. And so we finished strong. We finished, with that big win 2 nights ago, and great opportunity to do it in our hometown and around a sea of red and Houston Cougar fans. And people are excited about the direction of our football program. Coach Fritz has done an unbelievable job, and just can't say enough about the, the excitement around the program and how happy I am to be a Cougar.
Shawn, how unique was that to prepare for a bowl game that's kind of right there in the backyard as is?
Yeah, it was my second time to play in the Texas Bowl, and man, it's a great bowl. And for us, it was a great opportunity because we were able to practice in our home facility. We got to meet in our normal meeting rooms and offices and things like that, but still had the bowl environment where you got to go to the events and get the kids out of the house and go to the hotel and things like that. But for us, it was just a great experience because I think it was important for us and a great opportunity for us to get the city behind us and get people maybe that hadn't been to a game. The calendar worked perfectly for us as the last game on TV, and just a lot of eyes on us. And I think it was a great environment for us. And our kids really fed off that with a great opponent in LSU. And, it was important for us. A lot of people take these bowl games for granted. For us, we knew it was our 10th win of the season and a chance to propel our program to where we wanted to go. And just, couldn't say enough about our fans coming out and the environment and what it meant to our program.
Do you feel like because it was right there in your backyard, because we know that at times some programs struggle with home crowds more than others, and a lot of it's just where your location is or how big the school is or not, but how much do you feel like that could feed in the next year when you start having season tickets? Do you feel like that can help?
Oh, absolutely. I think, like I said, there are people at that game that may have been their first U of H football game, and we created some fans by what we put on the field and the way that game finished, and we want to carry that over into next season, and we want to, Coach Fritz is really, dove into this program, this community, this city, and wants everybody to be a Cougar. And there's a lot of things pulling people a million different ways, and in such a big city, and we want to make sure that they know, just like Coach Sampson's done in basketball. You go to every basketball game, there's not an open seat. It's hard for my family to even get to a basketball game. And so we want to do the same thing in football, put a product on the field that the city of Houston, the University of Houston is proud of, and we're headed in that direction.
You were recently kind of a Christmas present, I guess, in some ways, announced as being promoted to assistant head coach. What did that mean to you, and just kind of what were your thoughts on that all developing?
Well, ultimately, really excited. I think for me, first and foremost, it probably means that my players have done a good job of representing me, and I've been blessed to coach some great quarterbacks, and it just means a lot to me that Coach Fritz thought highly enough to give me that opportunity, a guy that he wants to, have bigger role in the program, and just hopefully means that I've done a good job, and I want to continue to do a good job, and have a lot of belief and a lot of faith in Coach Fritz and what he believes in, and I'm just a guy that wants to, be a good employee for him and be a good employee for our university, and for him to do that and, give me that opportunity just it meant a lot to me that hopefully I'm doing a good job and continue to do so.
How much more did it feel even better with Brian getting promoted from an analyst to the wide receivers coach, and then, of course, you the next day that he's now a full-time assistant?
Yeah, super excited for him. I think that none of this wouldn't be possible without Brian. My connection to Coach Fritz is through him. And, we were at Baylor together, which was a great opportunity and a great experience. And he actually went to Houston before I did. He took an analyst job to follow his former college coach to work for him. And a couple of days after he was down there, that's when they started calling me about me coming down there and being with Coach Fritz as well. And it's the same thing here. He got the promotion before I did. And it's just a testament to him and the hard work and the great coach that he is. And just super happy for him, because it's hard, man. This profession is hard to make that jump from analyst to position coach. And, it was really neat to see in the team meeting when it was announced. He got a standing ovation by the team, and they're just kind of hooping and hollering, and managed to built a lot of energy leading up to that bowl game and that bowl victory. And can't say enough good things about him. Just really, really happy for him, and we know those wideouts are going to play well underneath him.
So today is December 30th, but it was December 11th of 2024. So a little over a year ago when you landed Connor Wegman out of the transfer portal. What has that been like over the last year to kind of develop and find the sweet spots of that relationship, but also to see his development as a player? And it's kind of, how would you describe what it's been like to work alongside him over this year and over this season?
Well, our season is probably credited to his toughness. He came in with a battled body, some ups and downs through his playing career, and kind of trying to find himself. And he went through spring ball, had a great spring, and then at the end of the spring, he went through kind of a tragedy. A girl that he's been dating for as long as I've known him, his whole high school basically career and all of college, just had a tragic accident and fell off a roof and was actually paralyzed. And man, he was going through it, and just to see him come out on the other side, how he's developed she's perfectly healthy. She's doing well. She's in a wheelchair and continue to get better every day. I know that Hope's gonna walk soon, and but super proud of him, because he went through adversity at A&M. He went through adversity in his personal life, and throughout the season there was adverse times, and he just continued to grow and ultimately, it was his toughness that our football team just kind of cling to. When he got in the huddle, he felt like we're going to win every game. When he got in the huddle, he felt like every play could be a touchdown. And he's just a competitor and a warrior. And I can't say enough things about him. It was, I've known him a long time. I recruited him when I was at Baylor, and we were one of his first offers there. And I always thought just the world of him as a player. But just to see his toughness through all the ups and downs of the season, and just super excited for him. And then, we get one more year with him. That's what I'm most proud of, is that it's just kind of the beginning. I think the sky's the limit for him, and just can't wait to see what he does moving forward.
You're a part of a coaching family. Your father, obviously, a lot of people who don't. Mark was incredibly successful at various places, including China Spring. Brian's with you at Houston. But Willie Fritz is also very special. How much and why is he so good at wherever he goes? The 9 wins and the 10 wins, and obviously 10 everywhere but Georgia Southern once. But what makes him so special?
I would say probably two things. I would say number one, relationships. I mean, there's not a place I go with Coach Fritz that he's not connected to somebody in some way, shape, or form through somebody he's coached. And, it's not a day that goes by that he doesn't get 5 to 10 text messages, phone calls, people stopping by the building. Just he's the type of coach that players want to play for. I listened to a post game the other day where hear Tanner Cozio, a guy that came here at the end of spring ball, talk the way he spoke about Coach Fritz and what he means to him. It just says the world about him. And so those relationships, number one, and then number two would be just consistency. He's the same person every single day. He stresses the same things every single day, and he knows what it takes to build a championship program. And so when you walk in the building every single day at U of H, you know what you're getting from Coach Fritz. And so those relationships and that consistent leader that he is every single day is what makes him special. And man, I've enjoyed these 2 years. I've learned a ton and can't wait to continue to learn and build with him.
Why were you guys so successful in hitting on so many impact transfers? I mean, Wegman, obviously, but you mentioned Tanner Koziel, incredible year for him, Mackey Award type guy, Amari Thomas, Dean Connors, like the list goes on. Why do you guys think you had such a sweet success rate this season?
You can also name a guy right down the road, Rook Brown from Salado, Texas.
Hell yeah, he was a great.
He beat up on China Spring one night. I'll never forget him running the ball down my brother's throat, and I said I want to coach that guy one day. But you're right. I mean, really, we hit number one. We recruited kids that fit our program, and Coach Fritz does it differently than anywhere else. And it takes a special person to be a part of that program and what we expect from them on a day in and day out basis. And that was the first thing we look for. We want to look for guys that fit our program with high character, guys that love football. I mean, our guys love football, and they want to talk about it, be around it, just ate up with it. And it was a football, and I think they're a group of guys that like being around each other. The locker room was always a good, had a good vibe in it. And you go through meeting rooms and the lunchroom and different things like that, and it was a joyous atmosphere. And so when you get a good collection of guys that are high character guys that love football, and then obviously have the talent that those guys have that you just mentioned, good things are going to happen. And, we got to do it again. I mean, here it is, it's December 30th, and here in about 3 days, we're going to have to piece this thing together again. And so, but it was exciting. It was a special group. And Coach Fritz kind of just said at the beginning of the year, very first meeting, this is the 2025 Houston Cougars. This is this football team. It doesn't matter the 24. Who knows what 26 is going to look like? Let's make sure we make all of 2025 special. And that group of guys you just mentioned did that.
Shawn, through anybody's career development, there's always some ups and downs. There's adversity, perseverance, etc. But 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, you took the job at Houston. Baylor had decided that they were going to hire Jake Spavital, offensive coordinator, who's had a great career. And then next thing you know, Houston was available after Brian was hired by Coach Fritz. When you look back at that and where you are now, how much better in a better place you are, both professionally and also personally?
Well, I think, Baylor's a special place to me and my family. I think you know that. And, when those decisions were going down, Coach Randall was very supportive. He was doing everything he possibly could to keep me at Baylor, along with AD Mac Rhodes and even Spav. I mean, Spav's a guy I got a great relationship with. And, we worked well together that time that we were together. And ultimately, my family and I, we sat around. I specifically remember going home, circling up and praying about it and asking our kids. And, my kids only know really China Spring, Texas at the time where we lived, in Waco, Texas. And it was kind of just a leap of faith. I felt like, I got the Baylor job ultimately because I played at Baylor and had connections to Baylor and high school coaches and things like that. And I wanted to go bet on myself. And I knew what Coach Fritz was going to build at the University of Houston. And I wanted, to get out of, that shadow of just being Baylor Shawn, or however you want to look at it, and go bet on myself and make new relationships and get out of my comfort zone. I wanted my kids to go to school where they're not, known as my children. They're known as Cannon, Braxton, and Sadie Bell, and kind of just find our own identity outside of that area. And so it's been a blessing. And, I always want what's best for Baylor. Don't get me wrong, but I think that, I think God put me where I'm supposed to be, and thankful for it every single day.
So I was on the phone with your dad earlier today, telling him you were going to be on, and obviously with Brian's situation, he has that beautiful ranch in Gatesville. How often do you get to go hunting on that ranch and just enjoy family and, my goodness, just America and the beauty around Central Texas?
Yeah, we've been blessed. He's got a ranch house out there. I bought some land right next to it, so we've got quite a bit of land next to it. But man, if there was one negative, Smoke, to be honest with you, that might be the one negative to where I'm at right now. Is it's a little harder to get over there to Gatesville, Texas. But when we do, man, we have a great time. And I was able. Coach Fritz gave us a little bit of time during the holidays, right before Christmas, to go, and I went down there and just got to spend some time just with me and Dad, and running around and sitting in stands, and just being. I think that's you look at your sweet spot. That's kind of my happy place, I guess, is sitting out there in the woods where the cell phone service barely works, and there's no transfer portal, there's no instant messaging from recruits or anything like that, and so. It's a special time, and we go out there as a family. We really enjoy it, and very thankful to have those blessings.
When you look at part of your lineage as a college coach with what Matt Rule hired you, and then, of course, Joey was on that staff, and you see what they're doing and what you're doing, you just take that in sometimes and feel like this has been really fun, and it's still a long way to go for you.
Yeah, it's been a great ride so far. 2017, Matt Rule, I'll never forget where I was at 11 something at night. He DM'd me on a Thursday night through Twitter and just sent me his phone number. And I thought, man, if I could do anything to get in this college game, I would. And it's really amazing how much in this short amount of time, how much the game has changed. But just been very blessed to be around great people. You mentioned Matt, who took that first chance on me, and then Coach Aranda, who gave me the chance to stay on at Baylor, and now Coach Fritz, and all the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and position people that I've come in contact with. Just been more than blessed. One of the things I'm really blessed is I haven't had to move a lot, right? I was 7 years at Baylor, going into my third year here at U of H, and all those have been in the state of Texas. And you look at when you make those college jumps, that's very rare. And so been very fortunate and very blessed, and hopefully keep this thing building, and keep doing a good job, and keep heading in the right way.
You just had signing day. My last question, you got a stud at quarterback in Keyshawn Henderson with what he can do. And that is a game, and that can be ups and downs, and you've been through that too in the past. What was it like to have him committed and then sign him just a couple of weeks ago and have him in at the University of Houston?
Smoak, you told me you weren't going to ask me any shot questions, man. You take the shots. No, I'm just joking with you.
No.
Man, Keyshawn's a special player, but he's also a special person. And he committed super early in the process. And when you get a player his caliber do that, it's great. But then you're like, okay, here we go. We got to hold on. And Keyshawn didn't take an official visit anywhere else. Keyshawn didn't step on campus really much at all anywhere else, and was fully committed to what we're building here at University of Houston. I think really it was kind of a perfect storm for us because it was his hometown. I think I was his first offer when we were at Baylor to give him a quarterback offer. And then Coach Fritz was right after that. And Coach Fritz actually coached, his high school coach, along with his high school, basically the head of schools at his high school, coached her son. And so Keyshawn was going to Tulane games early in his high school career and already had a relationship with Coach Fritz. And so when you combine Houston, the city of Houston, Coach Fritz, who he has all the confidence in the world in, and then I think he's got a little bit of confidence in me as well. And it was just a perfect storm. But I think it just says about what Keyshawn's about. You don't see it much anymore, where you find a committed guy that's willing, hey, I don't care what happens. We were 4-8 our first year, and he never wavered. And he took a leap of faith to stick with us, and just says a lot about how he was raised. His mama, Erica, has done just an unbelievable job, and the people around him. And I know he wants to build in this city and do something special in the city of Houston, and just super blessed to have him a part of our football team, along with other guys in that room. I'm very fortunate to have a great QB room, and very excited about the future of it.
No shot. Happy as hell for you, man. Appreciate that. Enjoy the holidays, and I know the portal opens up midnight on Friday, so you don't get to enjoy it for
good luck with all that.
Yeah, good luck with all that. Good Lord. The Bell family. Thank you, Shawn. Have a great rest of the week.
Hey, Smoak, I appreciate you, man. Always good to hear from you.
Brian Bell, Shawn Bell of Houston, and of course, Mark Bell, the former longtime coach at China Spring. When we come back, before we take a break, we got super chats, but Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach, will join us on 365 Sports. Garrett, what do we have? Dear Lord, Kim Coulter again, 99.99. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, Kim. We really appreciate that so much. And then, since this is the last show, Happy New Year, 365 staff. Beers on me. Thank you, firefighter. We will be on Friday. But, yeah, we wrap it up here in about an hour as far as for the 2025 year.
Well, yeah, thank you as always to Kim, and always so generous and supportive of the show, and firefighter as well. Thank you so much. Happy New Year's to you and yours. Hopefully everybody out there has had a great holiday so far, and we'll continue that here over the next couple of days. But, yeah, we'll be back for the start of 2026 on Friday, and we'll be sitting there with plenty to talk about, but it's been a great year, and your support's been a big part of that. So just really appreciate all y'all.
Yeah, we do appreciate it all. When we come back, Scott Drew, his name and Baylor basketball been in the headlines. We're going to discuss that. Even a new statement released today by NCAA President Charlie Baker. We'll discuss that and more. This is 365 Sports.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics, whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
What does being different mean to me? You know, that is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports.
We are headed into the 5 o'clock hour. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball, will join us in a moment. Earlier today, and of course, Baylor basketball with the signing of James Naji, there was a lot of like, oh my God, and clutching of pearls and some. And I mean, I don't know if I like the rule either, but a lot of people, like all of a sudden, like Scott Drew has to answer to Tom Izzo, and they're pretty close. But Izzo made a comment, and Scott talked to him. Seth Greenberg with a great segment with us yesterday. But Charlie Baker put this out, and when I first read this, I'm like, the NCAA is buckled, which they do all the time, on all of the controversy of signing a player who was drafted 3 years ago, a part of the G League. And he said the NCAA has not and will not grant eligibility to any prospective or returning student athletes who have signed an NBA contract, including a two-way contract. As schools are increasingly recruiting individuals with international league experience, the NCAA is exercising discretion in applying the actual and necessary expenses bylaw to ensure that prospective student athletes with experience in American basketball leagues are not at a disadvantage compared to their international counterparts. Rules have long permitted schools to enroll and play individuals with no prior collegiate experience mid-year. So when this came down, there's still more to be done there. There was an immediate, that means that the kid from Baylor's ineligible. He never signed a contract of any kind. He is eligible. The NCAA is the one, remember, Scott Drew, when we played that comment yesterday, who contacted Baylor compliance and said he is cleared to play for you. And so we'll talk to Scott a little bit about that as they open up in just a moment what is the ultimate of buzzsaws when it comes to college basketball and the Big 12 Conference. 6 teams ranked, a bunch of teams who aren't ranked that are 12-1 and 11-1. It will be interesting, like it always has been, covering the Big 12 and men's basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be a great league, and certainly there's a lot of fun out there right now, early season, just kind of teams developing who they are and getting ready for these conference races that'll be excellent, I think, across the board. And ACC, I think, feels like it's got some of its oomph back, and the SEC feels pretty strong, especially after their run last year, and the Big 12 feels great. And, we'll see. But I saw this story come across while we were away, and initially it didn't really matter to me who the coach was, like whether it was Scott Drew or it was Tom Izzo or it was somebody else. I mean, somebody was going to eventually crack that door open if it was able to be cracked open, and if it was going to give you an advantage or is going to help your basketball team. And ultimately that's what Scott Drew is doing, is he's doing the best for his basketball team. And I know what Tom Izzo said. I saw his comments. I don't think this is a Scott Drew thing, that like he's the only guy that would do this. I think this is just he happened to be the first guy to do it. And then everybody reacted when they realized, oh, wait, you can do that? And so he's kind of the face of it, but I think he'll be far from the last guy to probably dip into these waters. And I just think it kind of sucks. Now, at the same time, I saw the argument posed from someone who mentioned that a lot of these European players are pros over in Europe, and then they come over here and they play college basketball. And so how is that different? I just think it's, because they're playing overseas. They're not playing high school basketball in America and then playing G League and then playing, which I guess now they can, though. So I think it's just different because they do it a different way over there. And they are not as inclined to have, or they don't have the college sports model like we have over there. Their college sports model is their youth pro sports model. Like the young soccer players go play for the soccer clubs and go through their systems at a very early age. They don't go to college and play for Manchester U for 4 years and then go play for Man United or whatever. That's not how it works. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but look, everybody's trying to do the best they can for their situation. And Scott clearly felt like this was the best move to make. Obviously controversial as well, just because everybody's new to the fact that this is even something you can do, and it opens up a lot of doors and a lot of questions. But I'm interested to see the fallout. I'm glad Charlie Baker's addressed it. I'm glad he's at least put a stop to some of the speculation as far as guys get drafted number 5 overall, sign a contract, play games, and then comes back to North Carolina. You cannot do that. That's what he just stamped out. But it is a very weird time period where I think everybody's trying to figure out, and all you can do at the end of the day is what's best for you. And that's what Scott Drew did. And if it wouldn't have been him, it would have been somebody else, and it will be somebody else ultimately as well.
Well, they're about to start conference play, and of course that is a whole new animal. And Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach, won the national title in 2021, joins us on 365 Sports. Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Happy holidays, Scott. How you doing?
Man, happy holidays to you guys. I tell you, it's been an eventful Christmas.
I want to start with this, and we were just discussing the statement from Charlie Baker, and of course people immediately that means, are you surprised? Were you prepared and ready for any kind of blowback for signing James Naji?
Honestly, not as many people and not as many comments as I thought. And what I mean by that is media people that have that have reached out that asked for explanation or asked for comments. And so at the end of the day, I know a couple things. And one, we're really blessed to have them on the team. Every program is different. Their needs are different. And with us, we needed to add a player. We were going to add the best player that we possibly could get that fit our culture, fit our university. Contrary to what you might believe, he does care about education. He wants to get a degree. His mom was most excited about him having an opportunity to get a degree. And as the Baylor family gets a chance to meet him, they'll see a great young man. Grew up playing the church piano. Now their church services were 4 or 5 days a week, so we got it a lot easier here. He said, brother played in the band at church, sister sang, mom was one of the people on the ministry team. So somebody that's Baylor family's going to really love getting to know and cheer for.
I imagine he's a really good piano player. Then, if it's 4 to 5 times a week, it's a lot of work and practice.
So I asked him, was that the toughest job he ever had? And he said, no. When he was 13 or 14, the construction job he had was a lot worse.
Yeah, I bet so. Coach, when did it? Like, everybody's always looking in to figure out what they can and can't do, and how you can best yourself. When did you realize this was even a possibility, or was it something that was always kind of maybe common sense and made sense, or was this something you kind of stumbled upon? Can you just sort of take us through, like, hey, this is a possibility and something that we can do?
Well, I think first, when it comes down to our team and what our team needs might be, and once MP Michael Perez had ACL surgery, and Bodo was trying to progress, but we knew that there was a chance he was going to have season-ending surgery. We knew we probably needed to add a big at semester. And so Jason Smith, our GM, did a great job in looking at each and every possible lead out there and possible player out there. And I think when everybody first heard about G League players, it was something where, well, wait a minute, if that's possible, could this be possible or this be possible? And Jason did a great job doing his job, finding the best player that the NCAA deemed as eligible. And again, I know coaches, we all agree. We love transparency. What's that word?
Transparency.
Yes. And so with that though, I think with the changing landscape and everything, I'm never going to point fingers. I know the NCAA is doing the best they can, and that's why, from what I've been told, with collective bargaining, that will be the best way to get definite rules and be able to enforce them. And that will be something that I know coaches, a lot of things we'd like to do with our game, we can't do right now. Hopefully that allows us to do that because we do think that'll be best for student athletes and the game when we're able to do that.
Scott, I reached out to you a couple of different times over the weekend, and I saw what Tom Izzo said. And now you guys are close, you and Tom Izzo, but it wasn't like he was scolding you, but he said he was surprised by the decision, and one of that you thought you would never have to make or didn't think you would have to make. Do you answer to Tom Izzo?
Well, first, Tom's a friend. I respect him. Love how he's cared for the game and how much he's been on committees trying to help make the game better. So a lot of respect. And we agree on 99.9% of the things we'd love to see done. At the same time, I know if we weren't in the position we were injury-wise, we wouldn't have been looking to add somebody, and this wouldn't even have happened. So if something is the NCAA makes somebody eligible and somebody recruits them, everybody's going to do what's best for their program. Some people are going to play zone. Some are going to play man. Some are going to run up tempo. Some are going to slow it down. That's what makes our game beautiful. And I think recruiting, everybody recruits a different style athlete. I think, again, we'd like to get to the point where like everybody knows and can recite. And I think I was down in the gym and I just came up and I heard the tail end, what you were talking about with Charlie Baker putting out something today, and I think that's great. The more transparency, the better.
How many coaches have you heard from in the last 2 or 3 days, and just kind of what's been the gist of the conversation? I know obviously the holidays are going on as well, but just going off of the Tom Izzo saying, I'm gonna talk to Scott. Have you heard from a lot of people?
As coaches, there's some of us that communicate throughout the year. I've heard from the ones I usually communicate with. I've heard from a lot of others just asking, do you think this person would be eligible or this person would be eligible, or do you think we can recruit this person? And I'm not the expert. Our compliance did a great office, and Jason did a great job working with the NCAA. And it wasn't a 1 week process. I mean, that's something they've worked on for a couple months. So I do know the smart take from the strong, and what I mean by that is if somebody is able to get a good player eligible, and there's other players they think might be in similar situations, you're going to find out how and why, so that you can do the same thing. And I would have reached out to people as well. And again, early on, when the G League thing came out, I was against it. I did not want to be recruiting the G League, but at the same time, as the speed limit changes or you find out new information, as a head coach, you got two things. You can either utilize that avenue or not. And with us, we needed to add a player. We wanted to add the best that we could that would fit our culture. And again, if he was ineligible, we'd have never added him.
I saw some coaches who were asked the question about the James, but and really just other particular players too, whether Europe or not. And a lot of them did say, we're looking at everyone. It wasn't so much, and yeah, some may have said something a little bit more like, we wouldn't do that. But a lot of the coaches, my question is, if James was available today and you didn't sign him, how many dozens of programs probably would have themselves?
How many wouldn't? That would be easier to say. And again, if your team is healthy and you don't need to add anybody, you're probably not. And if your team's doing well, you're probably not. But if you've had injuries or you need some improvement, we've had injuries. So we're playing well, but going into the Big 12 with a 7-man rotation is not ideal. And last game, one player was sick, and we're down to 6. And you can't promise every day that nobody's going to get injured, nobody's going to get sick. So no one's going to be in foul trouble. With us, we knew we needed to add somebody. And now there's going to be adjustment with it. I think to talk about the other thing you said, we're looking at everybody. I mean, one thing I think nobody in life wants to do is ever waste time. So if you know somebody's not available, you would like to know that because you don't want to waste time. Mm-hmm. At the same time, coaches are competitive and they want to win. So if players are recruitable, we want to know that so we can recruit them as well. We don't want to be lazy and not do our work. And again, you choose who you want. But nobody wants to waste time. I can tell you that.
So obviously you guys have a need inside because of the injuries you mentioned, an enforcer, rebounds, block shots. And what are the expectations? This is not like you just signed Carmelo Anthony, with all due respect. This is a player with what his skills are. What are his skills that fit what you need right now?
Well, first of all, 7 foot, 7'7" wingspan, 255 pounds. That is what it is. The second thing with that is his goal, like most players, is to play in the NBA. And right now, if he was there, he would be in the NBA. So that means he has areas he needs to improve and get better to have a chance to make that dream come true. At the same time, challenges of learning a new offense, learning a new defense, learning a college basketball game. And my job as head coach is to win games. So until he knows offensively, defensively, and you can't put someone out there doesn't know what they're doing. And at the same time, he's got to get used to playing with the guys that we have. He's got to get in game shape. We're just coming off the holidays, and like all of us, he celebrated the holidays. So this is going to be a gradual process. Hopefully 6 weeks into it, now he's comfortable and he'll be in a much better situation. Maybe it ends up being 4 weeks. Maybe it ends up being the whole season he doesn't get there. The good thing is he has multiple years to play, and he does want to get a degree. So he's a great young man. I'm excited for everyone in the community to meet him.
All right. One of the other parts about this was the midterm semester, et cetera. And Scott, we do appreciate your time. I know you got a lot on your plate. The players who were on the roster, I saw some comments from players, guys that get a lot of playing time, and they seem like they love him, and they've only known him for 48 hours and opened up their arms. What about the argument about those who are on the roster who all of a sudden may not play because somebody, no matter what program, comes in at mid-semester or at midterm?
Well, I think first, if you have a full roster, you can't bring anyone in because there's no room to bring someone in. If you don't have a full roster, then it is what it is. Just like there's no NBA team that's playing night in and night out with 7 guys. So in high school, I would imagine the same thing. If you had a bunch of injuries, you'd probably have open tryouts again. And as a coach, your job is to play who gives your team the best chance to win. Just like every teacher, if you gave your favorite students the best grades, that doesn't happen. Some people work really hard and they're C students. Some people don't have to work hard and they're A students. I mean, Smokey, that was you. Like, I had to grind. All right. I had to work. I mean, you just showed up and you were a genius. So I say that to say definitely with I know our situation, there was a need and there was room. At the same time, I know our teammates are at Baylor for a reason, and that is they're great guys and they're great teammates. And you know what? They want to win. And just like any team in high school, college, NBA, overseas, normally if you can bring someone in to help your team be better, the players are happy about that. The fans are happy about that. And again, everybody has to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. There's no teams that are great that are really selfish. So you're going to do what's best for the team. The old video, the team. There you go.
And I was told that a lot of guys knew this and they understood it and that they needed him and they were welcoming him, like I said, with open arms. What was the by the way, after all of this, you have TCU in the Big 12 schedule facing you. And my goodness, if a conference you think can get any better, it's hard to, but it does appear as if the Big 12 is even bigger, better, faster, and stronger. Good luck with that, right?
Yeah. Well, and TCU, the last 6 games, 5 of them have been decided by 4 points or less. Jamie Dixon does a great job. I mean, when they beat Florida and Wisconsin, everybody in college basketball realized how good they are. But, you know, Michigan's been arguably the best team in the country. Mm-hmm. And that was a 1-possession game late at TCU. So it's hard enough to play a good team, but then when you're trying to add a piece to the puzzle, we all know, again, that there's a lot of challenges to adding someone at semester, and that's why most teams don't do it unless they really need to.
Collective bargaining is something that eventually, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but that sure wouldn't hurt if it ever can get through and the NCAA can get that cleared. Scott, I know it's been a buzzsaw the last 2 or 3 days. Good luck in Fort Worth. Thank you very much for your time and also the transparency of all of the answers to the questions we've had about James Naji and also Naji, and everything else that you've dealt with the last 2 or 3 days. Have a great rest of your week.
Well, thank you, and happy holidays to all the Baylor family.
Thank you. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach, on James Naji, the signing, the background. Some of the feedback was, what about the players who now aren't going to have any minutes or whatever? It's not like they didn't know it was coming. And based on what Scott said, it was something that they absolutely made sure and that everybody has opened their arms to James as he's on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's not James Naji's fault that there's so much backlash. I mean, I guess it is in just terms of him being kind of the poster child for some of this backlash. I'll tell you, I mean, just as somebody who sees all of the roof pieces falling left and right when it comes to the college sports building, if you will, this was one where it felt like it was a pretty massive chunk that you were having to dodge and go, wait a second, what was professional basketball play? It's what is this now? Like, I don't love it. I don't love it just as an outside observer, but I understand it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't love it. I don't want to see a G League guy playing college basketball, but I'm not going to hate James Naji for it. He's not the root of the issues that the NCAA is facing. Those go back decades, and he's just going to be a guy who potentially we remember as just kind of the start of another chapter of this game changing to whatever it's going to become ultimately. But yeah, I don't love it. I didn't love it when I first saw it, but I'm more understanding of it, and I would be that way if it was Louisville basketball or Duke basketball or wherever. I think it kind of sucks that we're at this point where everything's just so cloudy as far as even what college sports is at this point. I really hate that, but at the same time, if it's legal, it's legal. Now, it's very interesting to hear. I saw a post just a few seconds ago, or I guess it was from an hour ago. Dan Walken from Yahoo Sports. Privately, a few coaches have been critical of Baylor coach Scott Drew and his decision to pursue former NBA draft pick James Naji as a midseason acquisition. The coaches see the decision to enroll a full-fledged professional, I guess, as an existential, to enroll a full-fledged professional basketball player who was nearly a first-round NBA draft pick, which means that you weren't an NBA first-round draft pick, just so we're clear, as an existential threat to the sport that should be off limits no matter how lax the rules get because NCAA officials fear being taken to court. So I know when I feel, and I was going to tweet this, I know when I feel really strongly about something, I'm adamant about it, I tell someone privately and anonymously how strongly I feel about it. Look, man, at least Tom Izzo put his face to his words and said, hey, I don't like this, and I'm going to talk to Scott. And here's Coach Drew, who's answering questions about it all. You don't have to like it. I don't think anybody's out here trying to convince you to. You can downright hate it if you want to, and I think I'm somewhere in between. But it is what it is, and like I don't know what else to say about it. I wish I had like well, this sucks, and it's just I'm just at such a whatever at this point with college leadership that if it takes a James Naji to create rules that prevent something like this from happening in the future for the betterment of college basketball, then so be it. But if it wasn't going to be Scott Drew, it was going to be somebody else. And that's how I feel about it.
Which is what I asked him.
Yeah, it was going to be Tom Izzo or it was going to be someone else. And, you know, I see this Dan Walken and these privately mentioned coaches, just put your name on it. Like, if you feel that strongly about it, say it. A few people already have. And I don't know what saying it in private to Dan Walken really does for anybody. I think it would be far more impactful if Louisville's coach and Duke's coach and Michigan's coach and Michigan State's coach, and they were all like, yeah, this sucks.
Yeah.
Rather than some unnamed guy from some unnamed position at some unnamed school. That means nothing. And meanwhile, that could very well be the same guy telling Dan Walken that's calling Scott Drew and asking him, hey, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah.
How can I get him into school here? So for as many coaches who seem flustered by it, there's also going to be plenty of coaches that go, all right, game on. Now that's open, and that's going to be for better or for worse. We'll see.
Yeah, and then on my Twitter line, when I promoted that we had Scott Drew on the show about the signing of James Naji and some of the blowback or whatever, there's some that, well, he's ineligible. The NCAA called Baylor, who had been working on this, and said he's cleared. He's eligible to play for you immediately.
Yeah, the NCAA is far more to blame than Scott Drew finding a loophole or taking advantage of something that's completely on the up and up. So you can blame him for being the one to crack the door open, but who left the door unlocked to begin with? So, yeah, that's kind of how I view it. This isn't and I'm not saying this because I like Scott Drew or anything. I like I said, if this was the Texas Tech, if this is Grant McCasland, I'm sure Baylor fans would be far more bothered by it, and Tech fans who don't like it would absolutely love it. And that's how sports go.
Yep.
If you do it, it's cool. If somebody else does it, it sucks.
Yep. Or you should be mad at yourself because you didn't know that he was available. Like
Ultimately,
Scott even mentioned.
Ultimately, everybody should be pissed at the same enterprise, and that's the NCAA.
But I also saw some comments from some coaches who have they themselves had their asses spanked by the NCAA for recruiting violations. That was also a little bit interesting. And in some, by the way, I saw a 5-minute clip from John Calipari, who makes so much sense, but then you get all the legal issues involved or whatever.
Well,
but what he said made so much sense that would clear everything. But can they get that done?
There is a phrase that I'm starting to feel like we're hearing a lot now, and it's collective bargaining. Scott Drew mentioned it there. Sounds like he's a proponent of it. I think everybody would have to be a proponent of it. Why would you not want something that could actually put forth some rules that people would actually have to adhere to? Now, it's college sports, so there's still going to be people that find ways to actually really cheat that aren't like on the up and up, like a loophole or something. They're actually just going to still cheat some way. But I do think having collective bargaining is just ripping the mask off of what this already basically is.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks to admit what it is, but it is what it is. So we might as well get to that point. If you want to clean it up, that's really the only option.
The very first reaction to Charlie Baker's statement on Twitter from a guy who's an attorney that said, I guess you don't believe in this and this and this and this, because he looks at what he does to represent his clients. In fact, if they are trying to play in the NCAA or not. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, the Texans are on a heater. 8 consecutive wins. We'll discuss that, his thoughts about Baylor and Scott Drew, and a little bit more. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
At BK4, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
So it's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
This is 365 Sports.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, joins us on 365 Sports. John, sorry we were running late with the Scott Drew interview. We appreciate your time. Your thoughts about Baylor and the story with James Naji. We just had Scott Drew on answering all of the questions. There are some that no matter what is the answer, what is true, they're going to have their own opinion. Your thoughts?
First of all, Baylor's getting more publicity out of this than anything they've done since the national championship, and I think it's great. And it amazes me, all these coaches whining about it, who would have done the same thing if they'd had the opportunity. The key is what you tweeted a few minutes ago that I've retweeted, is he never signed a contract. And we see players from Europe coming over here and going to college after playing professionally and getting paid a fortune. And my deal now is I just hope he can play and be half as good as people are hoping he is, because they can use him so much. And if he is really good, he might be a one and done like Tunde will be, just like Baylor has a great one every year. But boy, he's coming in at the right time. It's too bad Scott has to explain it so much, because they took advantage of the rules, and that's great, being on top of it. Now I think you'll see others. If you're a player, you're drafted, do you want to bounce around a G League, or do you want to play at a major college on a big-time program and travel in luxury and everything instead of a bus? And I don't blame any player. Now they're talking about the NCAA going to let drafted players in the NFL, and I guess all sports, come back to school if you don't sign. I think that's very fair.
John, the Texans, meanwhile, on a absolute heater, have clinched a playoff berth, 8 straight wins after the victory over Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. What just sort of stands out to you about this run they're on at the moment?
They have a Super Bowl winning defense, Super Bowl winning special teams, and a mediocre offense that is woefully inconsistent. It has nothing to do with C.J. Stroud. They struggle to run the ball, and their offensive coordinator, Nick Caley's in his first season, and I just think he struggled with strategy, with play calling, with adjustments. I see these other teams whose offense just looks so smooth. Texans don't think they run a screenplay all year. Not one that works. I just don't have it. So they're capable of throwing bombs like they did in the first quarter in the first 2 series at the Chargers, in which they won 20-16. But they're also capable of being shut out, except for field goals. When they have reached 20 points, they're 10-0, and they give up 16 a game, fewest in the league. So if they do what they average, they could keep winning. But I'll tell you what, if Baltimore beats Pittsburgh and the Texans have to return to Baltimore where they won 44-10 with Lamar Jackson and 5 defensive starters out, and Jackson and 4 of those starters are back, it's going to be hard to beat them a second time up there. So they should be praying for the Steelers.
How much of this does resonate in the city of Houston right now? What is it like, the atmosphere around the Texans?
Well, people are real fired up about it, but the Texans have been to the playoffs as a division champion the last 2 years. They have never been a wild card team. They've won the AFC South 8 times. They've won playoff games 6 times, and they've never won the divisional round on the road. Houston hasn't had a team reach the AFC Championship game since the 79 Oilers. And they haven't had a team win the championship game since the Oilers beat the Chargers in 1961. So it's been a long time. But right now, people are excited about the defense. And I'd much rather watch the defense than the offense. And because they're good, they're fast, they're relentless, and they're great secondary, great pass rush. Where the offense is like that box of chocolates that Forrest Gump used to reach into. You never know what you're going to get.
John, I know it's really hard to break through for a lot of colleges in a pro sports market, but any love or buzz going around for Willie Fritz and those Cougars after their big bowl win?
Absolutely. Willie is such a class act. I am in the Gridiron Legends of Texas, and we are honored every year at the Kinder Texas Bowl. Our new class includes Robert Griffin III. Robert was a great ambassador with his wife Greta and his 4 daughters, and I tweeted a picture in our suite with 5 of us from Baylor: Robert, me, Don Truell, Gerald McNeil, and running back Dennis Gentry. And we have a blast together. And Cougars were down 14-0. They won 38-35. It just shows you, if you have the right coach, what can be done, like Baylor did last year and didn't do it this year. But Willie is a class act who's won at every level, and he's keeping Connor Wakeman his starting quarterback, and he has the top quarterback in the country, Keyshawn Henderson, a 5-star committed, so the Cougars are going to keep getting better.
John, I sent you the Drayton McClain Jr. interview from a week ago, and you've known him a long time. I don't know, 89 years young and as sharp as a tack, and what he's meant to Baylor, but also his thoughts. You watched the interview. Your thoughts on what he said?
Well, I've always liked Drayton and thought he's very insightful. You know, he did a good but not great job as owner of the Astros, and of course, he's always been so supportive of Baylor, and I respect his opinion. And when Carol and I used to go to spring training to watch the Astros as fans, we would sit with Drayton and Elizabeth, and Drayton wanted to talk about Baylor, and I want to talk about the Astros. Mm-hmm. But I had a lot of great times with him. Last time I saw him was at Dave Campbell's funeral. It's great to see him doing so well. And I'll tell you one quick story, and I'm sorry if I told this before. One year when they were still in Kissimmee, Florida, they had their complex redone, and he invited me to come to his office and see his new digs. And he sat behind his desk, and he said, "How is a football guy know so much about my baseball team?" And I said, "Well, unlike you, I don't think your baseball team was an expansion franchise when you bought it." I said, "I've been an Astro fan since they were the Colt 45s in '62 and won their first game." I said, "I bet you can't tell me who they beat, who the winning pitcher was, and who they hit 2 home runs." He says, "Well, I can't, but I guess you can." I said, "Yep, they beat the Cubs. Bobby Shantz was the winning pitcher. Ramon Mejias hit 2 home runs." I said, "You should know that. You grew up in Cameron." It was like I grew up in Waco. He said, "Well, you were listening to the Colt 45s and the Astros. I was delivering groceries for my daddy, which helped me buy this franchise." Man, and I said, "Well, I wish I'd known that. I'd have moved to Cameron and changed the spelling of my name."
Yeah, right. Yeah, unbelievable, man. And so, John, the last weekend, this is one extra week. I know you got to go. One more week. I saw a little bit of chatter over the weekend that the league and one more week and the games are getting, is it too long? And I know it doesn't matter because it's all about the money.
It's never too long if you're playing good football. For all our complaints about games being the season being too long, we're mesmerized to watch good games. Did anybody think the season was too long Monday night watching the 49ers win 42-38 over the Bears?
Oh, what a game.
For all of our belly aching about what's going on in college sports with the portal and NIL, when they get on the field to play the games, like at the CFP, the games are still great. I tell people there's never enough of good games, and I don't care if it's pro football, college football, NBA, anything. As long as the games are good, let's have them.
John, thank you. Happy holidays, sir. Appreciate your time today.
Same to you guys. Happy New Year.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist. Texans have won 8 in a row. They're playing well. I watched that. I got to tell you, I watched that game, the Bears game and the 49ers. And that's one of the best NFL games I've watched in a while. It had everything. You know, high scoring. You don't see that much anymore. 42-38. Caleb Williams, who's grown into this badass at quarterback. He was already, but, you know, it takes time. I thought it was one of the best NFL games I've seen I didn't care who won either. That might have helped in a long time.
No, it was a fantastic football game, and Ben Johnson's been a terrific hire for Chicago, and Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. I mean, for all the joking about his fingernail polish or his flakiness and leaving Oklahoma for USC or this or that. I mean, he's a hell of a football player, and he's not perfect, but he just does some things that not everybody else is capable of doing. He's like in the 1% club with certain ways that he's able to throw the football. And yeah, he's been awesome. I just think that the Bears have finally hit on something, and it's been fun to watch, especially in a division where felt like Dan Campbell and the Lions or the Packers are going to kind of be the faces. And instead here's the Chicago team that's very much in the mix, making a lot of noise. And they've been great. So Caleb Williams, I know he has his detractors for whether it's his fashion choices or it's his transfer choices or it's whatever, but the dude is just such a good football player. I mean, he's just so good and does some just fun, incredible stuff out there that not everybody's capable of doing. So what a talent and what a story the Bears have been. And it does feel like the season's been a bit long, especially when you see all the guys at this point that are injured, but I'm very much looking forward to the playoffs getting underway. And I think with no Chiefs, it's going to be really interesting in a different kind of way than the last several years. And I don't know if I know for Chiefs fans, it won't be as fun, but I do think it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air to see Drake May. And even though it's the Patriots, because we got Patriots nausea over the years, but it's not Belichick, it's not Brady, it's the Drake May Patriots, right? It's the Mike Vrabel Patriots. So between them, the Bears, and there's various others, it's going to be a fun playoff race.
Rams with that lost Bijan went off last night for the Falcons.
He was great. He
Unbelievable.
was freaking awesome.
The 93-yard run, when he took off, he was gone. So what do we have here, Garrett?
We have the poll results.
We'll go to the poll results, and here we go. The first one. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, which iconic bowl game was moved across the country to Durham, North Carolina in 1942, marking the only time it was ever played outside of the state of California?
It's a trick question because immediately, or not a trick question, but immediately my eyes went to Rose Bowl, but the Holiday Bowl is also a California bowl.
Yep, San Diego.
Do you remember in 1942? You were like 10 years old.
Hey. I don't know the answer to this. I know I've been to every one of those places, even El Paso.
Cool. El Paso, I hear, is a hell of a city. Garrett's a huge El Paso
I love
fan.
El Paso.
I was there for a quick hit. I went in there and I don't know the answer to this question, but I think all those bowls do a hell of a job. Rose Bowl at times can be a little bit snooty, but they've probably earned that right.
Well, I mean, it's not Sun or Sugar because they played outside California. I'm going to say the Rose because that's where my eyes first went.
I can't imagine they would ever do that.
I mean, it's World War II.
I know.
So
I know.
Do a lot of things you wouldn't think.
There it is.
Bang.
Andrew got tired of us discussing it. Go ahead and read that, Craig.
Due to fears of a Japanese attack on the West Coast, because that was very real back then. The 42 Rose Bowls moved from Pasadena to Duke University's home stadium to prepare. Duke had to borrow bleachers from rival NC State and UNC to fit the crowd. Despite playing on their home turf, the Duke Blue Devils lost to the Oregon State Beavers 20-16. So had no idea. Very cool piece of trivia there. And I didn't
either.
I just think that's one of those really cool, unique college football trivia pieces that I'd love to learn. So thank you, Andrew, for providing that.
Andrew, I don't know where you find these. I don't know if you just Google them, like Kirk Cignetti and his career. But this is I learned something. And you had a Rose Bowl question yesterday too. All right.
Well, it was very real too on the West Coast. I mean, they had some evildoers out there kind of in the waters on the East Coast as well. But
look at that ticket right there from back in the day.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Next question, poll. In 1954, the Cotton Bowl, Alabama player Tommy Lewis became legendary for doing what? On the 95-yard breakaway run from Rice's Dickie Magel, he came off the bench and made a tackle.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to say the names, but I do remember this occurring. So, yeah, it's the jumping off the bench and the bench tackle.
Today in 1954, the most famous play in college football history occurred.
Look at him scurry down the field. He's at the 40.
The Owls were rolling over the tide. Magel had scored on a 79-yard run. The frustration level was growing on
this game.
Lewis suddenly jumped up from the Bama bench and made a picture-perfect tackle. Then he retreated back to the bench and became the first player in the history of the Cotton Bowl to try to hide.
Can you imagine, in this day and age of social media, the absolute meltdown viral tweet that would be or video that would be?
I'm actually surprised more intrusive thoughts haven't crept in and something like that's happened before. But, yeah, that is absolutely the voices in your head winning. But he describes it, Tommy Lewis, who was not in the game at the time, that it wasn't intrusive thoughts. It was that he was so full of Alabama that he instinctively jumped off the bench and leveled Maggle at the 42-yard line under the palpably unfair act rule. The officials awarded Maggle, maybe a Magel. Actually, probably
Magel. It's Dickie Magel.
Magel. I'm what MAE now, so I'm slow to get there. But yeah, Magel, a 95-yard touchdown anyway. The two players actually became friends afterward and even appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show together. So that's pretty cool.
Colorado hired New Mexico's AD yesterday. We had that story. They have hired Ryan Berryman at New Mexico. That's his alma mater to take over that job. Just a little note in college football. Who takes the Sugar Bowl? I would think, I thought this would be 75%, 70-30. Georgia, a 7-3 advantage in that game.
Well, I do think that the Rebels would shock the world if they win this game with the current circumstances. But yeah, I'm with UGA here if I have to pick. And comfortably, I'd probably lean more that direction than the other direction. So yeah, I'm good with that. But yeah, I think UGA wins this football game.
The other one. Who takes the Orange Bowl? Texas Tech defense, Oregon's offense rolls. Texas Tech, there's almost a 7-3 advantage there too.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility that it's Tech's offense, but they haven't won with their offense. They've won with that defense, and then for Oregon, they've had some good moments defensively, but yeah, it's about Dante Moore. So that's the clash that we're preparing for is Dante Moore and that Ducks O versus this Texas Tech defense. But I won't be surprised at all if it's the inverse that's actually the determining factor in this game. And what can Baron Morton and company do? Can they hit explosive plays against this Oregon secondary? But I would go here. I mean, I don't know about Tech's defense dominating, but I do think Tech wins this, or I'm picking Tech to win this football game.
839 votes, too. That's a bunch.
Yeah, it is. And so appreciate everybody that jumped in on that. And I do think it's a really important game for Tech, for the Big 12, and for the ACC even into a degree. Yep. I think it's important for anybody who's not in the top two leagues to at least carve out their niches where they can. And this is a great opportunity for Texas Tech. So I know they're fired up for it. Looks like they're having a lot of fun, and it'll be a hell of a game between these two.
Tennessee and Illinois remain tied at 7 minutes or like 6 minutes left in that game out in Nashville at Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl. La Tech did beat Coastal Carolina 23-14. And tonight, Frogs and TCU play USC in that game, of course, in San Antonio.
Yeah, no Josh Hoover for TCU, and I don't know about the rest of the roster. I actually should have looked at that. But, yeah, we know Hoover for sure will be out, and I would lean USC as a result of that. But very curious to see when these dominoes start falling in the quarterback carousel. I mentioned that rumor that was just going around from a couple of Texas, respectable, reputed Texas reporters that were mentioning the scuttlebutt they were hearing was Sorsby to LSU, but nothing else that I've seen on that. And we know that here in the next few days, maybe on the other side of this weekend, those chips will start falling, especially as the portal officially opens and you can make your moves and everything. Even though some guys have already kind of made their intentions clear, I think, that Big 12 quarterback grouping is going to be very interesting to see where they all land. Sorsby thought to be a lock for Texas Tech. Maybe not. Maybe he still will be. But I am really looking forward to finding out where he's going to play football next year. Same for Josh Hoover.
Yeah.
And also Rocco Beck, I kind of feel like we kind of know what's
Sam Levitt.
But Sam Levitt, the one I was thinking of as well that I would throw into the mix. And hell, if is Sam Levitt your pick for LSU quarterback next year if you had your choice, Garrett Ross?
If I had my choice
of any of the guys,
and everything fell the way it would, I would say Trinidad Chambliss on a one. If he gets the waiver, Trinidad Chambliss for 1 year, and then make a run at Deuce Knight.
Okay.
Probably. Something like that. That's what I'd do.
By the way, I like the producer cam. Up here.
Garrett,
that looks a lot better,
I
man.
barely was on the damn screen yesterday. I mean,
whatever.
Yeah, no,
just be careful with what you're watching on the screens back there because it is in the background.
Yeah, don't forget about Andrew.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
Andrew has never lets us see
that
laptop.
looks great. So whoever was involved in putting that together, if it's you or with help from others, that looks really good.
We will see you guys again on Friday afternoon at 3. We will then have more evidence. We'll know who's in the semifinals. I wish your team the best of luck. Obviously, whether it's Georgia, Ole Miss, whether it's Oregon and Tech, obviously we have a great Tech audience. We would love to see Joey and company move on. Indiana, Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, and Paxton said hook 'em horns as they play Michigan
Yeah.
in what is going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be also a highly watched game, a great viewership game too.
Tomorrow, Arizona State Duke's intriguing, even though no Levitt. Iowa Vandy is a game I'm looking forward to. Michigan, Texas, Nebraska, Utah, and then the playoff game, Miami and Ohio State to cap it off. I think tomorrow's going to be a really great day of college football bowl games. I'm looking forward to it, and Happy New Year to everybody. Please hit that subscribe button before you go, that like button too if you really want to be generous, and really appreciate everybody out there.
Andrew Valet, thank you, buddy. Thank you, Garrett Ross. We'll see you Friday. I'm David Smoak for Craig Smoak, the Dragon. Good night, 365 Sports.
Happy New Year.